Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
From Asthma Core Studios near Detroit, Michigan, it's Unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
And now, here are your hosts.
Welcome to Unregimented number 273. I'm Chris.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Rich.
And let's start off with the New Zealand story, because this was unfolding while we were recording last week. And I actually saw it pop up, but it's one of those things where as the news unfolds, it's not really even worth reading, usually, much less. I mean, unless the news story is there's a shooter in my neighborhood, you're better off reading the story tomorrow or even a couple days after that to get the real story.
Yeah, because I think we've learned in the last few years, like, the news runs with anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because it's not, it's worth reporting. Certainly, it's a newsworthy event, but the need to fill time causes them to just speculate wildly, and there's still a lot of controversy over what this guy's motivations were, right? Which,
I think it's safe to say
hated Muslims.
Yeah, he's not a fan of Muslim immigrants in New Zealand. I think it's safe to say that. So we can start from there and work our way back, So, I guess New Zealand has a blackout law where they don't publish the name or pictures of people who commit crimes like this. So, the internet is undefeated. To be honest with you, I know he was active.
How are you going to persecute people if you can't do that?
I know he was active on the Chan sites, but I haven't really dug into it because
his face was blurred out in the photo, but they didn't blur out the OK symbol.
Rich.
And that wasn't like a covert. It was
How can we shame him in virtue signal if we don't know his name? How do they do that in New Zealand?
They leave it up to the internet. Yeah, and the OK symbol. Okay, so I don't know how this who started this, but like the whole OK thing standing for white power. Like you make a circle with your index finger and your thumb and your three fingers. In case people are going, what the fuck are they talking about? Okay. Okay is a word. It's two letters. No, it's the symbol. By the way, when I was a kid, what that was is we called that the game.
Yeah.
And if you showed it below below your belt line and you got them to look at it, you got a free punch on them. Mm-hmm. Apparently now that means something like white power. So every time I watch Beverly Hills Coppin', when Eddie Murphy helps take down the criminals in the strip club and he gives the OK symbol, I guess he's saying white power, my black brothers. But this to me, this reeks of like something that 4chan came up with.
I was just going to say that. Like, I have no experience with 4chan, just everything you guys told me, but it sounds like something in the spirit of what they do. Let's take something totally innocuous and make it mean something awful.
Yeah, and somehow it's actually been co-opted by people who were too stupid to know that 4chan was trying to goof on the press by going, watch how quick we make people flip out about something, like you said, totally innocuous.
Well, sure. The hand gesture could mean a number of different things depending on who's doing it and when and how. What's the context around it? I mean, the context around a guy he's getting a photo taken, and it's probably going to be the only photo that's going to be released of him after he did this horrendous crime, and he knows that his face isn't going to be shown. So why does he do the OK symbol, right? I think it's pretty clear to him, and what he's trying to communicate is white power. Whatever you want to argue where it comes from or what its actual meaning is, it's pretty clear what it means coming from that guy.
Well, no, I absolutely agree with you, but I think my point is this just proves that I think satire is a dying art. I feel like people are so stupid on both sides that they quickly, and they're so quick to buy into shit that they don't stop and go, wait a minute, this sounds like an Onion article. I mean, when I first heard that, I was like, are you serious? People are going to put this, really? And then when I started seeing people do it without any irony, I was like, oh my God, people are this stupid. George Carlin, Think of how stupid the average person is. Half of the world's dumber than they are. And I'm like, holy shit, it's the truth.
I'm not arguing about where you're coming from, but it's not really a provable thing either, your point of view. Whether it was born out of people joking around, then people started to take it seriously and actually co-opt it as a racist symbol. Who's to say that that's what happened? And it wasn't just that actual racists on 4chan were going, hey, this is the new hand symbol. This is what it means.
This is our gang sign.
Does this mean buckwheat's racist now too?
Okay.
I mean,
I guess.
No, because it meant something different then, right? And it meant something different when buckwheat did it.
But what if we watch it in 2019? Will it trigger us?
Actually, Eddie Murphy's buckwheat is kind of racist. I think that was kind of the point, wasn't it? Like to point out, like, seriously, we grew up on this shit. Are you seeing this shit? Well, anyways, it doesn't fucking matter. The point is, to the people who saw it and are like, oh yeah, that's like, I guess he's showing solidarity with the cause. Okay, well, whatever. Here's what blows my mind. Isn't New Zealand like rather liberal? Like,
yeah, That's part of why the Muslims like to go there, right? They're attracting Muslims because it's a place where they can go and freely express their religion and their beliefs without persecution from the government, certainly. Obviously, no guarantee from the public.
Well, I mean, they must feel comfortable to build a mosque in a place called Christchurch.
Does New Zealand have the strict gun control laws like Australia?
They do now.
Well, yeah.
That's the thing is, like, a week later, they're like, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to ban these certain types of weapons.
Yeah, and it's the same old assault weapons. Okay, so fully automatic weapons. Yeah, those two. It's like, okay, so
that's because this is the language that we've used in our media in the U.S. And I saw lots of stories about how New Zealand was banning assault rifles. And if you actually read into it, they're not talking about assault. They're not using the term assault rifle for anything. They're not using it at all. They're specifically looking at certain types of automatic weapons that they want to ban from the country. But yeah, I mean, when you read about it in the U.S., it's like New Zealand bans assault rifles. Well, I
do have to say,
can we stop calling them assault rifles? Can we stop it with this language thing?
If they don't have a ban on fully automatic weapons already, I'm really shocked. Because, I mean, we're gun-loving motherfuckers in America, and we have a ban on it. I mean, it's been like a long time ban. Like they said in The Departed, here in America, fully automatic weapons don't add inches to your dick. They just give you a life sentence.
Nobody's talking about fully automatic. He didn't have a fully automatic weapon. I don't believe they have fully automatic weapons legal in New Zealand.
Oh, I'm not shocked because the reports have changed over the week. But from what I understood, he did have a fully automatic rifle.
He may have had some modification to it.
Well, that's the other thing. Yeah.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. A standard AR-15 is not fully automatic.
No.
Okay.
No. And for the most part, if you have an internet connection and a little bit of know-how, you can pretty much modify or build a fully automatic rifle. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's
like take an AR-15 and do that, or just fucking MacGyver a fully automatic rifle?
Both. Yeah, I mean, haven't you seen the stories about, like, you know, they started going after people who were posting blueprints for 3D printers to print up automatic rifles?
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what technology we come up with and how well-intentioned it is, we always got some asshole who's right there ready to ruin it for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
I know the one that the government really went after was the guy who had the 3D printed handgun that didn't need to use any metal parts. That's what they're really worried about, because that's what you do an assassination with, not a mass shooting, right?
That's how you get a weapon through airport security.
The government may be worried about mass shootings because, hey, those are our voters, but they're worried about assassins because, hey, that guy wants to kill me. A little bit different motivation. So anyway, it came down hard on the guy.
Fair point.
But yeah, I don't know. It is interesting, though, that, and yes, it's a different cultural thing. I know all the reasons why we can't ban these weapons in the U.S., even though there's certain weapons that I feel should be banned. So it's not as easy as...
Well, but like anything else, you'll just drive it underground.
It's like anything else in politics. It's only as easy as much as you have the political will or the people's will to do that, right? So New Zealand is probably much more liberal than the U.S. is, and they're more likely to go, yeah, we should have done this already. Let's go ahead. And so in 10 days, they can act on it. The reason, somebody on Twitter was listing like how many days it's been since Sandy Hook and we still haven't done shit about it. Well, yeah, because we're not going to do shit about it. Because we don't have majority of people in this country who want to ban these types of weapons.
And it's not going to change access to it either. If you want it, you're going to get it.
Well, also, there's a major problem with, okay, we ban it. Who you sending door to door to collect them? Because there's going to be a lot of dead people after they knock. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's all there is to it. There's going to be people who I will kill you if you try to come take my weapons from me. So that's that. If that's how the road you want to go down, you better be ready for fucking basically a new civil war.
I understand. I don't know. It is interesting that that New Zealand has the will of the people to make change in this way, and I could never even see that truly happening, even if we had complete liberal representatives and a liberal president. I don't think I would question their effectiveness in getting something like this done.
I don't know, but to me, their reaction just it kind of reminds me of just like someone drove into a crowd, let's ban cars. Like again, people who want it are gonna get it. And it's really
in
not
New
going to
Zealand,
change anything.
Though?
What's that?
In New Zealand?
Yeah. You think the black market's only in the United States?
I know, but it's not just a question of people are going to get it anyway. I mean, at a certain point, it's the government's job to make certain decisions, right? People are going to murder anyway. No matter, you could put the death penalty on manslaughter and shit's still going to happen. So that's not really a good standing for making laws, whether it's going to, I would argue that people are going to, that would apply to something like heroin. People are going to do it anyway, so they should have access to it. And they should also have access in a clean and healthy way that doesn't involve crime and disease.
Yes, but there's still going to be people who are irresponsible with it. That's kind of how I view it. That's kind of how I view it with this. Like, you're always going to have irresponsible idiots.
Yeah. I guess I don't put guns in the same category as drugs and automobiles, but I see your point. And I know that a lot of people would definitely
because they can be just as deadly in the wrong hands.
No, I understand that. Cars and drugs have additive effects that I don't see with guns, right? There's good things that outweigh the negative.
Well, when it comes to cars and stuff, let's be honest here. In 50 years, most likely cars will be self-driving. You will have to have a classic car and a specialty mechanic to keep it running to have a
wait a minute. Are we talking about cars or are we talking about guns? That was just an analogy.
But what I'm saying is, so that the human factor eventually will be phased out. If I just put a gun in an empty room and I lock the room and I never go in that room, that gun is never going to harm anybody. Mm-hmm. It's always going to be the person wielding the gun and what their intent is. And that's where the argument lays. And obviously New Zealand is a country who goes, oh, we had a major tragedy happen. 50-some people are dead and dozens more injured. Then your individual right to own a gun isn't as important as our right to feel safe, to walk around.
Right.
So that's the decision they made. If that's what they want, more power to them. To me, I'm like, well, Really? I mean, this is a discussion we've had many times on this podcast before. But life is a risk. Everything you walk out your front door, you could die at any second. Mm-hmm. All right.
Well, but like automated cars, there is technology that is being held back that could make guns safer, and I make sure that only the registered user actually fires that weapon.
Exactly. And for the life of me, I do not understand why firearm manufacturers don't implement it.
Well, because cost, and you're only going to implement that cost if it's something that people are demanding out of their product. The gun owners they want to just be able to hand the gun off to their friend and go, there you go, fire at that can, right? Now, hold on, I'm going to unlock this with my fingerprint real quick. Let me get a retina scan off the barrel here. That would be a stupid place to put it, wouldn't it?
Let me look down the barrel just a little bit. You have to look down the barrel while your finger is on the trigger.
I think a more reasonable position to come from is that, hey, weapon manufacturers, we're going to ban your products from being sold in our country until you implement these things, right? I mean, it's the same thing with automobiles, and it doesn't even just start with automation. It goes back to just regular safety measures, right? It's cheap to build a metal dashboard, so we're just going to bend this piece of metal and stick it in there. And, if your head splits open on it, well, that's just the cost you pay for driving, right? And then somebody invents a seatbelt, and they're like, shut up. Nobody's asking for a seatbelt. Nobody even knows what a seatbelt is. But once it gets out there and people start demanding it, and then the government goes, hey, this should be standard because it saves lives, and they have to implement it. Now it's a law. You can't sell a fucking car without seatbelts in it.
Well, if you actually know
it is the law.
If you actually know like the history of the development of the seatbelt, the car manufacturer's reasoning, and this is all internal memos and stuff from decades and decades and decades ago, was if we sell a car with a seatbelt, that implies that our cars aren't safe. Yeah. So we don't want to remind people that they could die behind the wheel of one of our products. So don't put a seatbelt in there and they won't think about it. It's like, yeah, I won't think about it until I have to go identify my son who was impaled on the steering wheel. Then I think about it. You know what I'm saying?
And again, think about though the type of people that you would need to get on your side, right? The people who are possibly hoarding weapons, right? Who are doing so because maybe it's just an expression of freedom. Maybe it's something that they feel like they have some community in, or maybe it's just a complete fear of the government, and that one day they're going to have to defend their own property with them. You're never going to convince that guy that it's okay to have a security feature on that weapon, right? Because now there's something electronic that I have to put my finger on and unlock. Well, the government's going to control that, right? So now when the government shows up at my door, all they're going to get is click, 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 because they shut my guns off.
Well, if your gun is Bluetooth enabled, I guess. It's got Wi-Fi, so it can be controlled by something else. If it's just a matter of, let's just stop for a sec. What would be an easier and quicker access to a weapon if you're in a situation like in the middle of the night, you hear someone kick open your front door? Is it to go to the gun safe, put in the code, open the gun safe, take the trigger lock off, load it, rack around, and then go deal with it? Or is it pick it up and it scans your fucking handprint and it activates because it's now in your hand?
Right, but this type of person that I'm describing, that you'll have to get on your side to actually get effective legislation to have some sort of gun control, he's got the shotgun next to the bed. He's got the handgun under the pillow. He's already got everything in easy access. He doesn't give a fuck.
And two, they're going to be the type of mindset. Well, not all of them. I don't want to use a broad brush, but
I think we're not stereotyping. We're describing certain people in this country.
But they're going to have.
I'm
the
not saying
mindset
all white people in the South. I'm saying there's certain specific gun nuts that we're talking about.
Well, I'm saying you're gonna have the mindset of like, I don't want my fingerprints in database.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like,
which then I asked, do you have a cell phone?
Electronic on there, and now you're going to have the government monitoring you. I mean, you already believe that they monitor you through your tooth filling, so. Of course they're going to do it. Of course they're going to be able to lock our guns down.
I'm sure they have a cell phone, so no database coming from that.
I mean, here's the thing: how paranoid is too paranoid? I
only use it in airplane mode for Candy Crush.
How paranoid is too paranoid? How trusting is too trusting? It's like there's a case right now that I think it's been kicked up. I'm not sure if it's made it to the Supreme Court itself or if it's in the state Supreme Court, and I can't remember what state it was, but these like 23andMe or whatever finds your your genealogy or whatever and send us your DNA. Well, the police went to one of these places and were like, "Hey, we need access to your files," and they were like, "Sure, here you go."
Yeah,
and it's like, no, not unless you. If that's not, it wasn't collected for that. Those samples weren't given so you could hand them over to the federal government willy nilly without probable cause.
You know why it's $100 to get that test done? Because if it was free, you'd go, wait a minute. They charge you. They don't have to They make money off of putting all this information in a database. It's used for studies, it's used for police work, it's used for advertising, it's used for whoever fucking pays money for that information.
Yeah,
That's what they're doing with your DNA.
I think it was on this year. Rich, feel free to let me know. There's a Law and Order SVU episode this year where that's how they caught somebody. They went to a DNA site and found a familial match.
Yeah, I think that was this season. I think it was inspired by the case I'm talking about. Because that's how most Law and Order episodes work. If you hear about it 6 months later, there's going to be a Law and Order episode about it. But still, if it's collected and you're told that up front and you still voluntarily do it, that's on you.
Yeah, well, it's in the fine print.
It might be now, but when it started, I mean, you got to remember, we do have the thing in this country still called the Patriot Act, which basically gives the government the right to do whatever the fuck they want, whenever the fuck they want.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
yeah, did you see about how they were tracking Michael Cohen, how the FBI was tracking Michael Cohen? And his activity is all through his cell phone. They were able to just hack in, listen, record, watch, download, and he didn't have a fucking clue. His screen didn't even flicker.
Cool.
Yep. Land of the free.
Well, okay, so yeah, New Zealand handled it differently with their gun laws. We'll see how that works out for them. I imagine it's going to be just fine. I don't see it as a one-to-one comparison to the U.S. We may be westernized liberal countries in general, but we're still very different. The way that they handle this in the press, though, is interesting, too. I think that's really where we could learn a lesson from New Zealand, is the idea that we're not going to say his name.
And again, like I said, how could we virtue signal on social media if we don't know the guy's name?
Well, that's where the wonderful world of 4chan and everything comes in. Because if 4chan's proven anything, if they want to find out who you are, they will do fucking so. And that's how if you really want to know the guy's name, you can log into 4chan or 8chan and probably without even looking for more than 5 minutes, find out everything you ever wanted to know, including screenshots of his fucking social media that's been deleted.
Yeah, but what about the media? I mean, do you support the idea that the media should not be naming mass murderers?
If the media doesn't want to name them,
it glorifies them.
If the media doesn't want to name them and they make the decision on their own, then so be it. I'm
asking the question is, do you think that we should have a ban on publishing the name of mass murderers in the media?
Because then you end up with that dipshit from Boston. They put him on the Rolling Stone cover, made him look like Jim Morrison. Never mind the guy, set off a bomb, killed a bunch of people.
Right. I mean, it's the story's not even new. It's fucking Bonnie and Clyde, right?
I don't know, ban.
It makes us romanticize them.
I understand where you're coming from completely, Chris, but I'm not real comfortable with the government fucking deciding what we can and can't know from the media.
Well, that's a fair point, but this is not having the government have a constant hand in the media going, all names have to pass through us and we'll decide who gets published and who doesn't. And I don't even know if control over that. I mean, I'm not even sure what New Zealand's laws are like, and maybe I should have looked into this a little deeper. I just know that they have a ban. I don't know if it's government imposed or if it's just understood in the media in that country. And I don't know what a ban would look like in the U.S., if it would be government imposed or if that's even possible without going down some kind of slippery slope.
No, I can already hear people shouting freedom of the press.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's certainly going to be your argument against this idea. But I think as a concept, I wholly agree with it. I wish it was something that we could adhere to. Yes, if somebody really wants to know for whatever reason, this is the information age. You have access. You can find out.
I mean, we do it with sexual assault victims, don't we?
Mm-hmm. We do it with minors who are involved in crimes.
Well, I mean, once again, I have no idea about New Zealand's.
So maybe I don't know.
I have no idea about New Zealand's laws. But I know here in the U.S., once your trial's over, unless it has something to do with the government redacting information that came to light during your trial, all that goes into the public afterwards, anyways. You can go look up. I mean, word for word what happened in court. Mm-hmm. Well, once the case is actually done and over with and it's case closed. So, I mean, it goes back to, yeah, it would be, in my mind, yeah, it'd probably be the right thing to do if there was a gentleman's agreement in the mainstream media to be like, you know what,
that would be the ideal, right?
We're not gonna publish it. But just like you said, this is the information age, and you know that there's going to be some dipshit running a blog somewhere who's going to go online, dig up the info, put it out there, and then the story will be, he dug up the guy's info, so right. We're reporting about him digging up the guy's info. So, it's so meta, you get lost up your own ass, You
could stay once removed at least and say, I didn't reveal his name, but
I'm just reporting on the guy who did. And it's just
so this guy said his name was Steve. So I'm not saying it. I'm just saying that guy said his name was Steve.
See, that's the circles like we're a dog chasing its own tail after a certain point.
I'd actually seen a couple of screenshots on Twitter that were posted of a news program. I believe this was on the BBC, and they had blurred the people's faces out that they were interviewing, right? And so in one photo is this woman in like this red top, and she's got blonde hair, and they blur her face out. And then another shot, they're talking to somebody else, and it's a man in a suit, and they blur his face out. And in the background is this woman with a red top and blonde hair. Her face isn't blurred. You could have shat the bed on that one, didn't you? It'd be pretty dumb not to figure that one out.
Well, now you're asking.
So anyway, that's what it reminds me of. The way that the press, because you're right, they absolutely do that. As much as they don't want to say that bloggers are real journalists, those who work in newspapers, they'll use them as their own source in a way to break things that they have no proof of, right? Oh, the Mueller investigation's going to be up soon. How do you know? Well, I don't have any proof, but this blogger certainly seems pretty certain of it, and that's a way to report on something that you have no facts to back up. It's a lot of hearsay.
It's what we do now.
Yeah. So again, I like the idea that they can have this kind of media blackout. I don't know what that would look like in the U.S. or if we could even accomplish that. But I certainly think it's a good idea.
Well, from all the mainstream media that I've seen on this story from the U.S., they've respected New Zealand's law, and they haven't published the guy's face, his name. NPR hasn't mentioned it. I mean, I haven't seen ABC, NBC, CNN, and none of the usual suspects. They haven't broken.
I think you'd lose access. I think you would. I mean, not that news is constantly breaking in New Zealand. No offense, Kiwis, but you would lose access, right? If you went ahead and published this, hey, that's not my law. You're not the boss of me.
The last breaking news from New Zealand was someone in New Zealand said Eminem, but they didn't say Eminem. That's the last breaking news that I heard out of New Zealand. And before that, it was, they're filming Lord of the Rings there. Okay, all right. So,
well, it was also interesting to hear a lot of this. The people who are more vocally in support of not giving this guy any press seem to be on the right in the U.S., like Don Jr., for example, who is saying, we shouldn't be talking about this guy, mentioning his name, showing his picture anywhere. Let's not give him any attention. But I call bullshit on that one, because if this mass murderer in New Zealand was, went into a fucking, a Best Buy and mowed down a bunch of 30-year-old white dudes and he was wearing a Hillary t-shirt, Don Jr. would be posting all about that shit. So it's just kind of convenient when a bunch of Muslims die and your dad happens to be one of the most famous current Muslim haters in the world. That you're like, we shouldn't be talking about this guy.
See, Ed, we're having the same thought, but I'm having it the opposite. Like, if New Zealand was a notoriously right wing country, do you think there'd be all this respect from our media?
No, I think they'd probably be pointing the finger at them the same way they are at our president.
Just curious, because now everyone's got to be on a team.
I was about to say, it hasn't it. I mean, sadly, in a lot of cases. But I mean, isn't it pretty much a given now that you start with whatever team you're on and their belief system, and then you work backwards from there with whatever issue that is presented to you?
Right.
Like, hold on a sec. I have to check in with my fellow team members to see how I think about this.
This nutbag has a 70-page manifesto, right? And people are cherry picking it apart, going, "Oh, well, look. Here he's racist." And here he even mentions, I don't think it was in his manifesto, but he mentions Trump in this tweet. And then the right comes and they're like, "Oh, well, look at this part. He's anti-government. He's a radical."
Yeah, he said something about the environment and climate change, so he's a left-winger.
Right. And what do you really do with that information? Like, you might as well be sifting through this guy's shit trying to figure out how many nuts he had in an average week. Like, what are you doing with your time? The message is right there, right? Like, this would be as if this guy, let's say this guy worked for you and he shat on your desk, right? And you came in and went, "What does it mean?" Why? Why would he shit on my desk? I better skip through the shit that's on my desk and see what I can make of it. Well, he needs more roughage. I think he should drink more water. Maybe he's mad about the fact that I don't refill the water fast enough. Maybe that's the issue. Are you fucking serious? The guy hates you and he shat on your desk. This guy's crazy and racist or anti-religion or whatever. I don't know what you want to call it, but he doesn't like Muslims, and he was very clear about that in his actions.
Yeah, I'm gonna
glean some deeper truth from his manifesto. Like, that's ludicrous.
What happened to just good old plain? He's nutty as squirrel shit, and he's fucked in the head, and that's it.
Because now you're minimizing people with mental illness.
Fucking well, dude. I mean. Jesus Christ!
Conversation.
Did we sit around doing this about Manson? No. Like, why was Manson like this? No, we just said he's crazy. Throw his ass in prison. That's it. End of story.
Right. Manson quoted the Beatles, and did we all start hating the Beatles? Be like, look what you did. You thought these songs are about love, and then you inspired this horrible mass murderer?
We would do that now.
We're not buying any more Beatles records.
We would do that now.
Yeah, we're canceling.
Think it was that far-fetched that we would totally do that now.
There'd be groups calling for it, and Twitter, hashtag cancel the Beatles and all that. But Sam Kinison said it so right in the 80s. He goes, he's fucking crazy. He'd have got the same message from the Monkees. Last train to Clarksville, Whitey. Don't you hear what they're trying to say? You know, he's like, you're a fucking nutbag, Manson. Just throw his ass in a hole.
Well, I mean, the idea of arguing whether Trump's language inspires actions like this is also kind of ludicrous. Like, yeah, it probably does, right? But, you know, crazy's got to come from, it's got to get a little influence from somewhere, right?
Yeah,
you know, it's got to
also stop pretending Donald Trump is the ground zero racist.
Well, but yeah, like his language probably does inspire people to do shit that I don't know. I wouldn't even say that they wouldn't do anyway, but just as a reason to do it. Like, yeah, that guy, he's popular and people seem to like him, and he's talking about the same shit that I'm talking about. So I'm going to go beat up a Muslim. Does that happen? Maybe it does.
By the way, I meant patient zero.
Oh yeah, I gotcha. But it's kind of besides the point, right? I mean, that's not even the least of your worries if you're Muslim in America. Like he's actively trying to keep you from coming into our country.
I think that would be more of a concern.
He's actively racist. Its language is kind of secondary to all that. Like, I mean, unless you want to try and tell me that like Trump is giving secret code words specifically to this guy and others like him to do these actions across. Now, if you actually have proof of that, that's something. But well, you just say his rhetoric. This is well. So what's the solution? That Trump's going to tone it down? No, the solution is you don't like his rhetoric. Get him the fuck out of office. It's the same solution for everything else, right?
I guess, yeah. Every time he says tremendous, amazing, that's right. Like it like the sleeper cells awaken and start going on shooting sprees. I guess. I mean, because that's what I absolutely agree with you. These people who are like, oh, well, you know, Trump is giving messages. Really? Is he over there? Really? Is he over there tapping out Morse code with his hand while he's giving a speech, and like all of a sudden the Manchurian candidate wakes up or something? You know, cut the.
And yeah, also
it is the need for some people to have a big bad boogeyman, and it's not. That is unfortunately just part of the human condition. We need to have a boogeyman. You know, we had communism, now we have terrorism. We had the war on drugs. And we, you know, and for some people,
the boogeyman, though. I mean, he's the real thing. He's the guy in charge.
Yeah, but he does enough without making up bullshit to attribute to him. That's the problem. That's where the boogeyman bullshit starts, because these people's lizard brains fucking activate the minute they hear Trump, and they go, "Oh shit." And they go into fucking frenzies and start making up shit like he's like he's the aliens from They Live or something. And it's like, no, he's an asshole enough. You don't need to make up bullshit. It's like going, you know, not only did Hitler kill 6 million Jews, he kicked puppies too. Oh, well, that's the one. Fuck Hitler then. Kicking puppies? I can't. No. Yeah. Come on, man. And I'm not even trying to call Trump Hitler. I'm not on that shit. But you know as well as I do, there's people that are like that. They're like, oh, he's secretly having meetings with, you know, David Duke and the Klan, and, you know. Really? This is an asshole who said there are very good people on both sides about a white supremacist rally and the protesters protesting them. Okay, he's not smart enough to do this shit behind closed doors. He's too dumb to do that, because then he would never get any credit for it. Mm. So I mean, stop with the boogeyman shit, people. He's an asshole. We all know it. We don't need to make up shit, because then you just discredit your own side.
If your own cabinet has to constantly go out there and say that you're not a racist, maybe you are a racist.
Jesus Christ, John McCain is dead. That man dedicated 5 whole minutes to shitting on John McCain because he felt he didn't get enough credit for letting John McCain have the funeral that he wanted. Man is dead. You've won, asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's been some, like Arnold Schwarzenegger was one to speak out against him, and pretty savagely for Arnold as well. But there's not a lot of them. Like Lindsey Graham, strangely silent.
Well, of course. It's just like when there's some sort of crazy extreme Muslim attack, you know, all these prolific Muslim leaders keep their mouth shut, just like when Christians are bombing abortion clinics back in the day. All these, you didn't hear Pat Robertson go on a 700 Club and denounce them. And I mean, shit, who was the other asshole? After 9/11, Jerry Falwell. Him and Jerry.
Oh, yeah.
9/11 happened because we allow abortion in this country and them gays to settle down and get married. That's why God is punishing us.
Right. The towers were brought down by dead fetuses and anal seepage.
Well, if I if I'd have known butt fucking can tear down buildings, Christ.
Then you're not doing it right.
Yeah, apparently yeah. I mean, I just thought it took, a couple shots of tequila and a whole lot of sweet talk. No, apparently, like, honey, we want to tear down that building? I got to fuck you up the ass.
Well, if we,
It's the only way. Sorry.
I'm gonna get us back on course. Sorry about the anal sex.
Imagine the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet, all in one place. Go ahead. Dare to stream with Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
It's clearance season at Target. Save up to 70% off thousands of amazing finds like sweaters, sleepwear, outerwear, and shoes for the entire family. So shop the best clearance deals at Target, where low prices and great deals make it easy to save.
Of all the streaming services out there, only one is different. Discovery Plus. It's the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes of food, love, true crime, home, from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Yes! With stars like Chip and Jo, an exclusive new series from 90 Day Fiancé, all in one place. Bam! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
No, as long as we're talking about Trump, though, unless there was something else that you wanted to say about this New Zealand thing, I think we should go into, let's talk about who the possible Democratic candidates that are going to go up against Trump are. Because there's been way too much information about these people so far, way too soon into it. But, Rich, you were telling me that if you follow the right online, their biggest fear seems to be Beto O'Rourke.
Yeah. I mean, judging by the sheer amount of just mudslinging I've seen in the last 7 days at this man, that's obviously who my friends and family on the right think it poses the biggest threat to Trump.
And it seems like it's only stuff that people over 60 would think would be controversial, though, right? He stands on desks and chairs and sits backwards and moves his hand around too much and skateboards and is in a band. Like,
yeah. Like, one of my favorite ones is
his name.
They have a picture of him and you can tell by the haircuts that it's a very early 90s band. And they're like, look at what he's wearing. Is he possibly wearing a dress? Because it's a band photo of like, it's pretty much from like mid-stomach up, but it kind of looks like it might be a dress he's wearing.
So you completely missed 120 minutes when it was on MTV. Like you never saw any of that. Right?
You ever heard of a guy called Kurt Cobain?
Right.
One of the first times I remember seeing Stone Temple Pilots live on MTV, Scott Weiland was in a dress singing sex type thing.
Yep.
I mean, now granted, if Scott Weiland was still alive, I don't know if I'd vote for him for president. He'd be an awesome drug czar.
That's not a reason to vote for somebody, but it's not a reason not to.
Not to vote. Yeah. And then the other one is this is the one that cracks me the fuck up. He apparently wrote a story, and in this story, children got ran over by a car. So somehow they have turned this into Beto O'Rourke hates children so much he wrote and fantasized about running them over.
Of course.
And I'm like, wait a minute.
Because why not?
So does that mean Stephen King hates cats so much he wrote Pet Sematary just to kill one? You know what I'm saying? Like, does that mean that he hates little boys so much? That's also why he wrote Pet Sematary, just to kill one?
It's like when the Bill O'Reilly controversy was going on when he was still employed by Fox News, and people would make fun of his book, his writing, rightfully so. I think is ridiculous, but they tried to use his examples of he wrote this shower sex scene in his book, and they're like, "Look at what a creep he is. Look at it." I'm like, that's what putting a sex scene in your novel makes you a creep. Then every fucking novelist is a creep. Right? Like, it wasn't a great sex scene because he's not a great writer. It sounded like a really boring book, but it's not proof that he's some sort of deviant because he likes soapy breasts and he describes them.
Oh man, now you got me thinking about Bill O'Reilly like dressed up like a gangster going, "Put him on the glass, baby, put him on the glass."
No, I'm just thinking about soapy breasts. I mean,
That's what I'm saying. Like he walks into some chick's bathroom, put him on the glass, get him nice and soapy for me. I don't want to picture Bill O'Reilly. Anything with that. But no, I mean,
okay, so think about Beto then. Close your eyes and think of Beto.
Doesn't that he's a goofy looking fuck.
What? Come on.
Oh, with them teeth? He can eat an apple through a fence. Are you kidding me?
If he was 5'4", he would look like a fucking weirdo, but yeah, he's like 6 foot tall and a little lanky. Like, he's got it. He has no problem with the ladies.
But he married one whose father's worth $1 billion. So yeah, he's slinging some dick like a fucking doctor somewhere.
I just saw a picture of him and Sarah Jessica Parker could get in a horse lookalike contest.
The man's got he's got Tony Robbins teeth.
Yeah, he's got huge ass teeth.
That's fine.
Tooth to gum ratio is off.
Wait,
I'm not saying
his smile has got to be like the most politician. It's between the smile and the haircut. Like, he was born for this shit.
He was. Yeah, he
looks like a Ken doll.
Aaron, shut up. You're going to get the right ideas. They're going to think he was grown in a lab somewhere just to run against Trump. Because they
Well, that's why he changed his name to Beto, to throw you off the track that he was a test tube baby that was grown in a secret lab underneath the White House with lizard people DNA.
Well, the thing, to just real quick, because this, to me, if the people who go, the man wrote a story, and in the story, someone ran down children in a car, so that means he wants to do that, which means, okay, so you guys are such big fans of Rambo, that means that secretly you guys want to, what, kill everyone who pisses you off?
Right.
Okay, I mean, when
I was in high school, I wrote a story about a guy who was lost out in the wild, and when he finally came across the rest of his team, he tore them apart because he thought they were wolves, and he killed everyone. So does that mean I secretly harbor this desire for mass murder because I wrote that story when I was in high school?
Well, that's not fair, because I think everybody secretly harbors a desire for mass murder. It's got to be the right people in the right circumstances.
Well, and the sane people get that urge out in their fiction, right?
Well, no, look, it's total bullshit. Just because
Quentin Tarantino probably wants to execute people on the 405 daily, and he's like, I'm going to put 5 more people in my movie just to die because of what I've gone through just on my commute.
Well, I can say this. After watching From Dusk Till Dawn, he really doesn't like Mexican vampires. Yeah. So, I mean, he's got a real bone to pick with them. So, first of all, where do you find exclusively Mexican vampires outside of a Quentin Tarantino movie? But
Mexico. Hello.
I guess.
And I don't think he hated them because they were Mexican vampires. Like,
but it is.
They were vampires, and he was in Mexico.
It's funny because, it's very much a Fox News pushed thing, because most of the articles, even if it's not a Fox News article about O'Rourke, it extensively quotes or references a Fox News article about him. So obviously Fox is pushing it. This is the guy you need to be afraid of. What's really funny is it's like you can almost make a list of who the Republicans are afraid of in 2020, and he's at the top. Biden's like way below him, but it's there. The thing they're running with Biden is, oh, he's creepy. He touches people too much. He's a close talker. He's creepy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, All right. Well,
I don't think that cost him the election last time, but
if they met our current president, it would be an upgrade.
Well, I like that Trump was using Beto's hand gestures as an indicator of insanity. He's like, I know crazy people. And that guy moves his hands like a crazy person.
Because you are one?
Yeah, because he has a mirror.
Right.
I see crazy every day when I look in the mirror.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just went and watched the Trump accordion playing videos. Have you seen those? Have you seen Trump's accordion? So they just animate a little accordion in his hands while he talks, and his hands go in and out constantly. And they do the sounds with it too. So he's like, we got a big problem. But yeah,
oh God,
pot kettle black on that one. But the right's not really good with irony. Not this strong.
Here's what I love, because this is
common to both sides now, Aaron.
I think this is what's going to, if Trump gets reelected in 2020, this is what's going to fuck up the Democratic candidate, maybe even more so, because, like I said, the people posting most of these articles that are hating on O'Rourke, these are people and my friends and their friends and family who are solidly Trump's base. They're going nowhere. There's literally nothing the man could do that they would turn their back on him. So those are the diehards. You're never going to change their minds. But then I got friends on the left who are like, he's not a real Democrat.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He's a bought and paid for Democrat.
Oh. Then enjoy not winning. If that's the
But he's not really saying a whole lot. And again, this is early, but there are other people who are entering this race with actual platforms, and I'm not really. There doesn't seem to be a lot of meat on the Beto bone.
He's got the length, just not the girth.
Hey.
He can tickle your ovaries, but he can't stretch you out and make you scream. So yeah,
Aaron, isn't that like a politician's job most of the time?
Well, right, and again, we're early, so maybe he gets together a decent platform that makes me go, oh, that sounds reasonable. I like your ideas and would like to subscribe to your newsletter and vote for you. And I think that's a reasonable case too, because I don't have to believe that everybody that I vote for, what they say they want to make happen is what they truly believe should happen, or it's something that they yearn for in their own hearts, or that, I just want them to do what they say they're going to do. I don't care if they believe it. I don't care if Beto O'Rourke thinks that socialized medicine is a good idea. If he's going to use that as a platform issue, I'm going to listen, because that's something I would like to see happen in this country. But I don't need to believe that Beto O'Rourke holds it in his heart that this is something that we should have. I just, if it's going to be a platform issue and you're going to run on that, then I'm going to hold you to that promise. It's a transactional nature that I keep with my politicians. So
build that wall.
Beto O'Rourke he seems like a guy who could be filled with the right message, and I would love to see him debate Trump.
Too bad he's a misogynist, though. Make fun of his wife.
Right. Sorry for mentioning my wife in a joke once.
Yeah. Sorry for self-deprecating humor. Won't happen again.
God, I'm having flashbacks to 2016 debates, and I'm just picturing, like, every time O'Rourke speaks, Trump just leans into the mic and goes, wrong, 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 like a broken record.
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine? Like, he was uncontrollable at the 2016 debates. Now that he's president, if he has to go debate somebody, like, there's going to be no stopping him.
He could possibly come out like President Camacho.
Shit.
Playing like wrestling music as he comes out.
Like, I know shit's all fucked up. I know it.
Running out of French fries and burrito coverings.
So Beto, yeah, he could be an effective weapon, I think. There are other candidates there's many other candidates that have announced, and some of them have real messages and issues. And well, for example, Christian Gildebrand this week was talking about What's that?
Oh, this bitch.
Yeah, yes, that bitch. She just, it's rare that a candidate I can write them off with a single tweet. But I think her tweet about how she would tackle the opioid crisis is not only telling of her understanding of said crisis, but if that's how you're going to handle anything that you consider a crisis, then you are a completely worthless twat.
Yeah, is this
the idea that
we're going to go to New York?
She says we're going to go to the root of the opioid problem, the opioid epidemic. We're going to address this problem at the root, and maybe that was meant as a pun because she's going to go after people who get oral surgery and make sure that they only get, not to go after them, but limit their prescriptions to only 7 days. You only get 7 days worth of painkillers if you have a tooth pulled or a root canal or something like that.
Yeah, she said, I introduced legislation to limit opioid prescriptions for acute pain to 7 days because no one needs a month's supply for a wisdom tooth extraction.
Right. And you're right. But that has absolutely zero to do with the opioid crisis in this country.
Yeah.
Yes, there are the stories. You can find stories if you want of somebody who, I never done drugs in my life. And then I got my tooth pulled and it hurt like a son of a bitch. And I got hooked on those opioids. And then I started doing the fentanyl. And then I went to street heroin. Okay, 1 in a million chance, right? But tell you what, chances are even if you heard that story, it's bullshit. That person was an addict their entire lives.
Two things for this chick. Number one, I mentioned in the chat, the war on drugs. Hello. And I forgot my second thing. God damn it.
Well, right. I mean, the idea that, look, 7 days, if you're going to be serious about using that drug, then you'll just go find it somewhere else. You're like, all right, that's fine. What was I going to do at the end of 30 days? Go find it somewhere else on the black market.
Yeah, exactly. Well, remembered my second point. Hello, bitch. Go after the drug companies. But you won't do that because they probably pay to get you elected.
Right.
So you're a hero. Good job.
And what about people for instance, like my mother who had a terminal disease, and they basically I went to her doctors and said, you got her on a lot of pain pills. What are we looking at to get her off of them? And they just looked at me and said, she's never coming off of them.
Yeah.
So what? People who live in that type of pain, who are dying, have to go to the doctors every 7 days?
Oh, Rich. She says acute pain. That's a totally different circumstance that you're describing.
No, I understand that, but once that shit starts, somebody else is going to pick it up and run with it, and it's going to go in that direction, or they're going to make an attempt to go in that direction because that's how shit is. Anytime something happens, somebody goes, well, let's see if we can push it a little bit farther, a little bit more far, and it might not happen. But I mean, I'm just wondering, like, people who live with pain. Do you understand how hard it is for these people to get to the doctor?
She's not wrong in the idea that these opioids should not be used for long-term pain management, right? I'm not arguing against her stance. I'm saying if you're going to frame that as tackling the root of the opioid problem, then you are too nearsighted to be a politician. You don't see the bigger picture, or you're paid off to not see the bigger picture.
I think the second one's more likely.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not even hard to understand, like, it's not like it's a simple, they're just, the prescription drug companies are just making this and they're just making enough for the demand, If doctors are going to prescribe it, they have no control over that. Well, actually they do. Actually, they incentivize them to prescribe their medications actively. So let's end that. And how about also letting prescription drug companies release their own reports on their medications, right? Look at how effective this medication is at treating pain, and it's less addictive than other drugs. It's not based in any fact. It's just what they want to say about their product. That's what they said about fentanyl. Oh boy.
Well, I think
it turns out that was the absolute opposite of the truth as far as being non-addictive. But they're allowed to put out these reports on their own medications like it's the truth. And the actual truth, that what they're actually finding out in pain management studies, is that the longer that you stay on opioid pain medication, actual blockers, pain blockers, the longer you're going to have chronic pain. Being on opioids does not allow you to manage pain.
It just makes it go away.
Right. It blocks you from receiving it at all. And there's actually, recommended listening. It was, I'll have to look this up. I have to get back to you on this one, but I believe it was of This American Life Story. And they're interviewing a young girl, actually a teenager, who was in chronic pain, type that people couldn't even diagnose. Some doctors saying, it's some sort of nerve damage or something like that. Other doctors saying it's psychosomatic. And she just has this traveling pain throughout her body. She finally came across a therapy that worked for her, and it involved actually putting her body in really stressful situations and actually experiencing pain and working through it. And her pain hasn't gone away, but it's vastly improved her quality of life. She is able to manage the pain in her life. And that's the real truth of it. Opioids are an extremely short-term thing, but they've been marketed as a long-term solution because it's advantageous to the prescription drug companies. So it's not like we're even asking the government to clamp down on them. It's just doing the basic due diligence of the same type of oversight that we expect from most major industries in this country.
Well, I think we also have a serious problem with there are far too many doctors who don't really have a solid exit plan when it comes to painkillers in their patients. Because I've known more than a few friends who've had, like I had, the one friend that comes to mind is a friend of mine who had major back surgery. I mean, he was in traction for 6 months, and they just pumped him full of pain meds and then cut him off like that. And I'm like, what the fuck? You can't do that. You can't. You have to wean him off. How the fuck do I not have an MD? And I know that, but his doctors were just like, yeah, well, you don't need it anymore, so we're not going to prescribe it to you. He's been on him for 6 months. Now, whether or not he should have been on him, that's a different discussion, but the fact remains, they gave him to him for 6 months and then just yanked him out from under him. What the fuck you think he's going to do?
And they look at that as an effective way to combat the abuse of drugs like this. And really, it's actually doing the complete opposite. You hooked him and then you cut him off. So what? He gets a puke bucket and doesn't leave the house for a weekend? No. He makes a fucking few phone calls and he finds the drugs that he wants.
Ding, ding.
I'm not specifically talking about this person that you're describing, but that's usually what happens.
No, that's exactly what happened. He was a musician, so he had him on speed dial. It wasn't musicians, drugs, chocolate peanut butter. You know what I'm saying? They kind of go together. So but I mean, at the same time, I was horrified to see that. I was like,
yeah.
I'm like, he didn't like slowly try to wean you off him, nothing. And he's like,
aren't these doctors? Don't they know about withdrawal?
And I mean, I was close enough to the guy where I was there when he was, sick before he ever started using any street drugs after they took him off. And I was like looking at it going, I've seen motherfuckers come off heroin that act just the exact same fucking way. It is no different. It is. And how do these? To me, how do you still have a license to practice medicine if you are that incompetent at your job?
Yeah,
I mean, it's scary because it makes me think: did he really need to be on that high of a dosage for that long in the first place? Is there something else? And it was just, we're just going to throw this Band-Aid on this compound fracture and call it good enough. Because, for whatever reason, maybe I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of his financial situation. Maybe his insurance wasn't good enough. So they were like, well, your insurance is shit. So we're only going to talk to you for about 5 minutes because that's all you're worth.
No, I think it was more about it's a doctor's liability type of thing. At a certain point, they feel like they need to cut the patient off from the opioid because if this relationship continues, and something happens with this person, then that doctor is going to end up in court as an enabler of some sort.
Well, getting back to what you were saying initially about this congressperson, is that what she is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Gillibrand.
Yes, I'm totally with you on that. I didn't realize that was the screenshot you sent to the group chat. That was her.
Oh, of her tweet, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like I was at work and I got the notification and I read it and I showed it to a fellow coworker. I was like, look at this, and he's like, who's that idiot? And I'm like,
yeah,
someone's elected official. That's who that idiot is.
Right. So I don't know. She's going to have to do some really fancy dancing if she wants to overcome that. If she wants to make me believe and many other people believe that she has any sense of what's going on in the real world. But I think I've pretty definitively written her off as a possible candidate. I mean, look, if fates have it that she is the one that runs up against Trump, I'm not going to be like, yeah, but that tweet, I'm going to have to abstain.
Oh, you're not gonna be like the hard lefters who are like, oh, you're just not a good Democrat. You're not liberal enough. I disagree with you on 2 things out of 100.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is overreaction, but I think in general that's a reasonable reaction, right? I mean, that's a Democrat speaking to another Democrat about what they wish that they would be, right? When they criticize, again, it's really early in the race. Lots of things are going to change, but, picking apart candidates like Beto O'Rourke as not being liberal enough, I mean, this is kind of the time to do that, really. Because you either figure out, well, is he going to shift his stance and is he going to appeal to the more radical side of the left wing, or is he not?
I agree with you. My problem is that, at least in my personal experience, most of the people who are just shitting on the field of candidates offer no alternative. In fact, I've asked a few of them, who do you support? And they go, I don't know. But
yeah, they go, not him. They don't give you a name.
And I'm like, so you don't even know what you want. Like, I ask you a fucking very simple question and you give me a bullshit answer because you don't know.
Right. I mean, I don't know who is towing the line for what I would like to see in reform of opioids in this country, but I know exactly what it should be. Or not exactly, but I know at least where the weapon should be pointed, and it's at the prescription drug companies, because you really have to start from the source. To say the root of the problem and go after dentists. I mean, unless she should have gone for a pun or something there, because then I could have laughed it off. But you think the root of the opioid crisis lays at the doorsteps of the dentists of America. How do you even see this country at all? Do you even? It's baffling.
It's like the whole investigation into Trump. It's really opened my eyes to the fact that we as a society, if we have a rotten tree that is in our yard and it's, dropping shitty fruit in our yard. Well, if we cut off the branches but leave the rotten tree there, as long as it appears we did something, like, I did something. Why didn't you just remove the tree?
It's Ralph Wiggum, man.
It's like that with the Trump investigation. Well, and I've gotten caught up in it. I've gotten caught up in it on this podcast. I've been like, well, show me something. Well, that's not how an investigation works. Mm-hmm. And it took me talking to someone in the legal field and explaining it to me, like, you are not dumb. You know about the mafia. You know how RICO cases are built. They take years to build. Mm-hmm. It's not instantaneous. And guess what? This isn't Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You're not going to find perfect ever. Yeah. So stop looking for fucking perfect. It doesn't exist. And it's like, more people need to understand that is how the real world works, but we don't want that. We want, what can you do for me right now? Well, I'll send someone out to cut those branches off. It'll stop dropping rotten fruit in your yard. Oh, thank you. No, pull the fucking tree. Get it out of here. Why are we dicking around instead of going like to the root of the situation?
It's the old trope, the Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
Well, another common refrain from people who are against the Mueller investigation is this idea that Mueller and his team need to stay in their lane. And, well, what is this? This is a fishing expedition because it started out, they were looking for this, and then they ended up over there. They were looking for Russian collusion, and now it's involving his campaign. And I'm like, yeah, that's how investigations go, right? You investigate criminals and you find out what they're doing.
It's having the opposite effect on me. Like, the longer it goes on, the more I'm starting to think, like, all right, there's something there. It's taking way too long for there to be nothing.
Right. And I don't know. I mean, look, there's a such thing as, an illegal search, but that's not going to keep you from, let's say, there's a difference if, like, without a warrant and without my permission, a cop enters my house and he finds some drugs, right? And I have to fight him in court. The evidence gets thrown out because he didn't have whatever, legal justification to do the search in the first place, right? Let's say a cop comes into my house with no warrant and no suspicion of anything, just goes, I'm going to walk into that house for no reason, and I've just killed Rich, and I'm standing over his dead body with a knife. That doesn't get thrown out in court. It doesn't go, well, the cop went in there unjustly, so we got to let you off on the murder charge because he should have never been caught.
Well, in Hollywood court, it gets thrown out. But
right?
In real world, they'll be like, oh, we'll find a way to get it in. Don't worry about that.
No matter what the police, the FBI, whoever's investigating you, whatever they're doing, unless they're specifically doing something illegal when they come across this evidence, then it's fair game.
Well, can we just...
There's no such thing as, like, I'm going to investigate Russia collusion, and then I find out, oh, he cheated on his taxes. Well, that's illegal. Oh, hey, that's not what we're here for. Put that down. You got to pretend like you didn't see that. No, you've just found evidence of another crime. So it just stops?
Well, let's just cut the bullshit, because we all know the people that are calling this the entire investigation, it's bullshit, it's a witch hunt. If they'd have found something instantly and charged them instantly, oh, that happened way too fast. You didn't do due diligence, and you didn't investigate enough. If it goes longer than they go, oh, this is taking forever because you're finding nothing. So you're on a fishing expedition, and you just shut up. Shut up.
I'll tell you what's scary, though. I mean, we talk a lot about this country lately, like it's halved. There's the right half and the left half. There's the Trump supporters and the left wingers. I mean, we've known the hardcore Trump supporters are not even a majority of the Republicans who voted, much less the half of the country. These hardcore, this guy can do nothing wrong. He is God given to bring this country into the new century where it's only white people or whatever. These are just kooks. But in a recent CNN poll, I believe it was, they asked about how people thought about the Mueller investigation. And that was split right down the middle. Half the people thought it was bullshit. The other half thought it was reasonable. And that's part of it, is this aware of, like, there's no results, right?
Well, my question is, what are these people who are like, oh, this investigation's bullshit? So do we want to go back to the J. Edgar Hoover days where he was investigating everybody constantly, right, but he was doing it clandestinely, so we never knew about it? He was doing it for his own political blackmail? Is that what we want to go to? We don't want transparency?
Yeah.
It seems like that's what these people are saying. Like, I just don't bother me with that nonsense. I don't want to know about this shit. Just do your dirt in the dark.
He's going to have the remainder of his presidency be scandal ridden, and He's not going to get impeached. And then in a decade, there's going to be this tell-all documentary, and everyone's going to be like, oh, I can't believe I ever voted for him. And then they're going to tear down his presidential library.
When Nancy Pelosi's talking about it would be a waste of time to impeach him, he's not getting impeached.
Yeah, and she's probably right. I mean, she got railroaded for those comments. Oh, this wimp, and she doesn't have the will to do it, and we'll get somebody else. No, she's trying to speak some logic to you, right?
She's going, we got other shit to do.
Right. But look, you could spend all of your time trying to impeach him and maybe be successful before he leaves office, or you could actually just stonewall him. That's where their time is better spent, trying to stop him from doing things like more tax cuts and trying to clamp down on immigration.
And if she missed an opportunity, in my opinion, to go, hey, if you don't like it, vote. Less than 60% of you showed up 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also, did we forget recent history? They impeached Clinton. Where did he go? Oh, that's right. Nowhere. I mean, it was a dog and pony show. I mean, that under, excuse me, under Cheney and, was it Rumsfeld? You know, basically the people who actually were running the Bush presidency behind the scenes, they made no bones about it. They basically their outlook on what the president does is, if the president does it, it can't be illegal. Period.
Yeah.
End of story. So what do you know? And we have pretty much just went, okay, because we as a country were like, all right. Did anyone get upset about it then? No. So why the fuck are we supposed to be upset about it 19 years later when every president since then has acted as if that is a fact?
Yeah.
If the president does it, it can't be illegal.
Well, even if that were the case, though, a lot of these things happened before he was president.
Exactly.
Now, you can still make the case that you can't indict a sitting president, and then, okay, well, there's going to be a nice fat indictment waiting for him in 2020.
Which is where I'm a little shocked that Bill Maher has really held on to this. But
the impeachment thing?
No, that he'll just refuse to step down.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
That he'll just say, if he loses the election in 2020, he'll say it wasn't. No, I'm not accepting the results of that.
I don't know. I mean, he was quoted this week as saying that, I wish I had the exact quote in front of me, but it was basically he was talking about what would happen in 2020. You know, if it's a contested election, if he loses, something like that. He's like, I'll tell you, you know, the right has all the tough guys, basically, right? That Trump has the support of the gun nuts and the bikers, and you know the man's men, the tough guys of America. Like, if it comes to an actual fight over the presidency, that he believes he can win because he has the tough guys with all the weapons on his side.
I mean, he might have the law-abiding gun owners. I don't know many true bikers that give a fuck about anybody in the federal government. They're not going to fight for anybody in the federal government because they're like, fuck the federal government. Okay, that's so he might be living in La La Land a little bit on that. But I understand what you're saying, because he's
also using a more modern and broader definition of biker than was in the 60s. Right? He's including my dad in that one, in his Harley.
He's like, I'm broadening the definition of biker to include everyone who rides rice burners. So if you got a Honda, you're a biker now. But no, didn't he say like 6 months ago? He's like, you know, if they try to impeach me, this country will be in, deep shit. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but like he implied that there would be an uprising.
Yeah, he likes to imply that the people are not going to stand for it. Not that he's going to do anything, but that the people will rise up.
Let me tell you something. It's not even going to get to that point, because if he refuses to leave, there are people who work for the federal government who, right or wrong, will go, you're no longer president. You're no longer the commander in chief. I work for the federal government. They tell me to get you out of office. You can go one of two ways. You can walk out, or we can carry out feet first.
Yeah,
your choice.
That comment by Bill Maher. It's like, you're not aware how our government works, Bill.
Yeah, I think his best case scenario for him would be to try and take it to the courts, but even then he doesn't get to live in the White House while he waits a trial.
Either the Supreme Court or Congress would go, no, see ya. It's been a fun 4 years. We're going to go back to normal now.
I mean, believe me, we're the United States. We've removed democratically elected leaders from other countries. If you lose an election here and go, well, sorry, I don't recognize the results of that election, there'll be people to remove you from office, one way or the other. But I mean, I can understand when you say that if there's an impeachment waiting for him at the end of that presidency, I can understand how that would, or excuse me, an indictment.
Yeah,
I can understand how that would kind of add fuel to the fire to people thinking, well, he'll just refuse to step down. Because as long as because I mean, in their mind, he's thinking, as long as I'm president, you can't do anything to me, so I'm president till I die. Why? Because I say so. And seriously, just for a second, if he really does that, I shudder to think what will happen in this country. I really do. Because there probably will be people that will try to pick up arms against the government, but they're not going to be in the numbers that these Tom Clancy reading, fantasies that these fucking militia people have. It's not going to be literally half the country picks up arms against the federal government. It's not going to happen that way.
Want an uprising? Shut off our internet.
That'll get martial law instated quicker than pulling Trump out of office.
Well, I know that we stopped talking about Trump in terms of constitutional crisis, because that was like the mantra for like the first 6 months of his office, and then I think everyone collectively realized, we got to lay off of this because
it's gonna be a long 4 years,
right? But that would be a true constitutional crisis. If he refuses the peaceful transition of power, I mean, just the fact that you have a person in office that doesn't believe in that idea is ridiculous. That's always been like the one issue that both sides could hey, look, we might disagree. We might go after each other hard, but this is America and we have peaceful transition of power. And it's the miracle of the modern republic that we live in.
Well, I mean, I'm not naive enough to think that we're above a coup in this country, but I mean,
yeah, I don't think this is it.
There's people who go to bed dreaming of this situation, and like I said, in their minds, they imagine like literally half the country rising up and overthrowing the government, and it's going to be like boom. Like we start on Monday, we finish on Friday. And nothing is that clean and neat. It doesn't work that way. More people in this country just are, you know what? Does the power come on when I turn the switch on? Do I have internet? Do I have my 500 channels? As long as there's food in my fridge and you pretty much leave me alone, I don't care. That is the true American dream at this point. Just leave me the fuck alone. As much as possible.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that would talk a big game about how they'd rise up against the government. But yeah, government cuts your power and water, and then you'd be like, please, take me back, America.
Exactly.
Just give me my cable back, God damn it.
And believe me, the people who would not give a fuck if the government cut their power and their water are already living somewhere isolationist style to where they don't need the government's power or water because they dug themselves a well.
Taking stock in their bunker.
Yeah, there's MREs in their basement.
Yeah, watch Doomsday Preppers. They're out there. I mean, but not in the numbers that some people would like to imagine they are.
Mm. Well, I mean, I know that this wouldn't be the first time that we've heard this, but it does seem to be that the Mueller investigation is concluding or has concluded, and that the report's going to be out there soon. That's probably going to mean at least a month before we actually see any of it, if we do see any of it, because it has to go through a process of redacting any top secret information. sealing the grand jury testimonies because those are not publicly released by law. So, but at least we'll get some sort of conclusion to this.
I think a lot of people better on all sides need to prepare themselves to be completely underwhelmed, because I don't think there's too many people watch way too many movies and way too much TV, and they think there's going to be like a smoking gun. We got them cold. That's not how the legal system really works. If they had something like that, they couldn't keep that under wraps. If they had him cold, dead nuts, we got him on videotape holding up his ID, taking a bribe from fucking Russian oligarchs, and this and this. I mean, if they had that, come on, we'd know about it somehow. I mean, this is why every time we start talking about conspiracy theories, we're like, when do they start to fall apart? How many people have to keep their mouth shut? And you can't even do that.
Well, I mean, in this case, it's not even a lot of people that have to do it. I mean, I think that the Mueller investigation has proven that the only things that get leaked are the things that they want to get leaked. I haven't seen a single case of them, having somebody fly off the handle and blurt something out or leak something to the press that wasn't intended to.
Well, my question would be is how close are they playing this stuff to the vest, though? I mean, it could be by design. Like, we're not telling fucking anybody about anything till we're done.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Well, yeah, and if you have 100 moving parts, but one part doesn't know what the other 99 are doing, but you have a handful of people who see what all 100 moving parts, the finished product eventually is, it's kind of hard to be to leak any information because, I know this one little tiny thing. Well, that by itself doesn't really tell us anything. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't think it's going to be this. First of all, this is what's going to happen. If there's anything that is left like gray area, which I'm assuming probably most of it's going to be, both the people who were for the investigation, people against the investigation are going to declare victory. They're going to say, see, they don't have them black or white. And then people who were for the investigation are going to go, see, there's a lot of gray area here. There's a lot of shit that we don't know exactly what was going on. And my fear is that those people will be the ones who are heard the loudest, and they will dictate the conversation to the rest of the country to the point where it just gets, whatever the findings are, get lost between those two groups yelling at each other. Do you see what I'm saying?
That is totally plausible.
That's my fear of this. I don't know if he did anything. I just want as close to the fucking facts as we can get. If it turns out he did nothing, so fucking be it, man. I really doubt he did nothing, but that's just because anytime anyone who has power and money, I'm sorry, you've probably done some dirt to get that and to keep that.
Well, he's publicly on TV and on Twitter obstructed justice. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's done his best to stack the Supreme Court with people who are going to rule, just like I brought up a few minutes ago. Well, if the president does it, it can't be illegal, can it? They're going to rule in that favor. I mean, wasn't that one of the it was one of the things I heard, but it seemed like it got lost in the shuffle once did he or didn't he attempt to rape that, I forget her name. But you know what I'm saying? But it was like, what does he believe as far as, can you indict a sitting president? Can you indict a president who has left office? Can any crime committed as a president even be indictable? Et cetera, et cetera. And the two people he's appointed are like, no, not the way we see it legally. Mm-hmm. I mean, the man stacked the deck. So I can't be shocked by that. And here's the thing: we just don't give a fuck. We just don't. He fucked a porn star. That's more salacious. We'd rather talk about that.
I don't. Neat. We'll see.
Well, like I said, I can already hear it. It's like I'm hearing echoes of a conversation that hasn't happened yet. Just, they found nothing. See, we won. See, and I'm just going, oh God. I might have to do a media blackout on myself for the month after that report comes out. Just like, I can't do it. There's not a blood pressure medication in the world.
Put your Facebook feed on notice. I want to see puppies and babies, and that's fucking it.
Dude, seriously, as much bullshit as I see between friends and family going back and forth at each other, I'm like, I might just deactivate my Facebook in the 2 months run up to the election, because I get tired of it, man.
Dude, I'm almost a year in, and I do not miss it.
This is how serious this shit has gotten to where I worry about things. I'm having a birthday party coming up, and I was thinking, when I was inviting people, I was like, oh shit, if I invite this person, he's an asshole and he drinks and he's going to start fucking talking politics, and this person's the polar opposite of them, but he's an asshole when he drinks, and they're going to start talking. Am I going to be breaking up fights all fucking night? Like, I'm dead serious. I never used to worry about that.
Yeah, why do you have to think like that? That's fucked up.
And these are not fucking teenagers, with raging hormones fighting over a chick. These are grown ass adults. And it's like, I'm almost going to say, like, when people get here and be like, look, you mentioned politics or religion, I'm throwing your ass out. Period. We're here to have a good fucking time, not argue about your bullshit. End of story. You don't like it? There's the fuck. Turn around, do a 180, and get the fuck off my property. Because it's permeated everything. I mean, at work, I've actually had a manager get into a heated argument with a customer over politics, and I'm like, what are you fucking doing?
Wow.
I'm like, dude, can you act like you're an adult? Like, are you serious right now?
Let's argue with the person who's making sure I get paid. It sounds like a solid strategy.
Well, I mean, also, if you're a manager of a business, you should know better than to sit there and argue politics with a customer.
Yeah, you're a manager of a business, you should be fucking neutral.
All right. Yeah, I mean, there's two strikes: arguing and talking politics.
Yeah, why are you talking politics? Your job is to ring them up, tell them enjoy and have a nice day.
Yeah, right.
How the fuck does Trump and Hillary come up in that? Like, I can run that scenario a million times in my head, and there's no reason for me as an employee to bring up to a customer my political beliefs whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And believe me, we have crazies, the area where I work. There's a lot of halfway houses and sober living houses. They walk in just running off at the mouth about anything, and we just nod and smile and try to get them out as quick as possible. Like, we don't sit there and have debates with them. That's not my fucking job. It's not what I'm paid to do. But like, it seems like right now the tone of a lot of people is, doesn't matter, I gotta argue. And they're not even arguing to try to convince the other person. They're trying to outshout the other person. Yes, exactly. They just want to outshout the other person. I mean, that's the thing. No one ever changes their minds in these exchanges I see. No one ever goes, you know what, you brought up a really valid point. I hadn't looked at it from that point of view. And if they do, the other person jumps on them for being a flip-flopper. It's a catch-22. You can't win.
How dare you change your mind based on new information you've learned, you fucking flip-flopper.
Well,
I can't. I've never understood that. You've learned new information, so now your decision's gone another way, so now you're a flip-flopper.
It used to be a virtue to be able to change your mind based on new facts presented to you. Now it's seen as a weakness by a lot of people, and I just don't get it. I mean, that's like if you go into school and you just go, I don't care what you tell me, I already know everything. Then what do you fucking do? Why are you wasting my time? Go home or sit in the back and shut up and let me just write an F on your test.
Dude, trust me, I deal with that mindset all the time. I'm a business consultant, and half the time I'm sitting there thinking in my head, like, what am I fucking doing here if you know it all? Enjoy your failing business. It's everywhere. It's in every age group. Maybe it's just something to do with living in this country.
Well, we do have a lot of people who think that, USA number one, God bless America and no place else. That type of mindset. So, I mean, if you think God is on your side, that's a pretty powerful motivator to be an asshole. All right.
Is Aaron dead?
What else?
Oh, there he is.
No,
At Jewelers Mutual, we're a little obsessed with jewelry. Obsessed like auctioneers with talking fast.
50, we're going to 50.
Pop stars with auto-tune. And dentists with asking questions.
So, how did he propose?
After they've put their hands in your mouth.
Great.
Yes, we've made jewelry our obsession for over 100 years. We love it so much we named our kids Ruby, Amber, and Opal.
Venti soy latte for Opal?
At Jewelers Mutual, we insure jewelry and only jewelry, which is why people who are also obsessed with jewelry trust us with theirs.
Discovery Plus is the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Woohoo! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
Imagine the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet, all in one place. Go ahead. Dare to stream with Discovery Plus. 55,000 episodes from networks like TLC, HGTV, Food Network, and more. If you can dream it, you can stream it. See what I did there? Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
do we want to bring up the what is it? Is it Sarah Lawrence College? Is that the college name?
Yes. The college in, is it in Phoenix?
No, it's in New York.
No.
Oh, the Phoenix is the name of its paper.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I wasn't familiar enough with it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, with all that's going around with the possible Mueller investigation in New Zealand and all this shit, I think this story might have gotten buried for a lot of people. But there was a coalition of students that, what do they call themselves again? The diaspora something or other. It's just a diaspora coalition.
Yes.
And I thought diaspora meant
redundant.
Jews. I thought diaspora meant Jews who don't live in Israel.
No,
that's what I thought the definition of that word was. So
I don't know where that came from.
Well, hold on.
Well, so they have this. They have a list of demands. They're protesting.
It does
their
actually,
own
Rich.
school.
Oh well, it's to be fair, it's one of the definitions. The other one is a dispersion of any people from their original homeland. But for some reason, the Jews living outside of Israel is the first definition. So,
okay.
I knew I'd heard it from a Jewish friend of mine at one point. That's the only reason I know that word. It's a word that I use every day.
Okay, I didn't know it had specifically a Jewish connection at all.
So
that's a general term.
It makes sense now. Okay, I get what they're going for at least.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with anyone being Jewish, I don't think. They're just calling themselves I don't know why they call themselves the Diaspora Coalition.
Because they're spending $55,000 a semester. They better have a big vocabulary.
Yeah. The 55K word there, Aaron.
I hope that school paid for the thesaurus.
Hey, can we just put refugee? No, get the thesaurus. We need to come up with a better word than that. We're English majors.
Mm-hmm. So they have this whole document that lists out in bullet points what their demands are. It's kind of interesting in the fact that that usually the relationship. I mean, I know, students have certainly protested before on campus, but the types of things that they're asking for, I don't know.
Sarah Lawrence must commit to actualizing the value that housing is a human right. No, it's not.
Yeah.
You don't need it to live. In my book, anything that's a right is something you need to live. Like water, right? You need water to live. You have to have water to live. All right? That's a right to me.
Yeah. But we charge for that.
The college must provide winter housing to students at no charge. Why?
Well, this makes me. First of all, this is.
Aren't you in school in the winter?
This school, we've referenced it, but we haven't flat out stated it. It's $55,000 a semester to go to the school. So if you're
so who's having housing issues that can afford to go to the school?
That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And if your parents are paying that much, and that doesn't include housing of some sort, whether it be a shared dorm room or something, then that just speaks to how stupid with money your parents are. Because
the second list of demands involves food security and accessibility. It's kind of goes hand in hand with the housing situation. Like, can
we talk about number 2 on the housing one real quick, though? This is ridiculous. The college will designate housing with a minimum capacity for 30 students of color that is not contingent on the students expending any work or labor for the college. So they basically just want free house. Don't have to do anything. The housing option will be permanent and increase in space and size based on interest. What world do these people live in?
But here's my question. Why is it specifically students of color? Why isn't it all students?
Yeah. I mean, if you wrote this designate housing with a minimum capacity for 30 white people, we would be having a completely different conversation right now.
I mean, but do you see what I'm saying? Like, I could almost understand if it was for all students and like there are calls for, diversity to be like, well, maybe we should have a faculty that represents the national average or something. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I would agree 100% in lockstep with them, but it would make more sense than, well, we want teachers who are exactly like us. So I'm a non-binary black woman. So that's a teacher you need to hire, really, because just people like that grow on trees. You can just go outside and Miss Black Lady, are you non-binary? No, I'm definitely a woman. Okay, sorry. Keep walking. How about you, sweetheart? Really? I mean, this is that Goldilocks thing that irritates me. That people want everything to be perfect. It's not perfect. Life is not perfect. Okay? End of story. And if you want unity, dividing people up into groups based on the most base thing you can say, which is you look different from me, isn't the way to go about getting it. I mean, it's like a step above what God do you worship? Mm-hmm. Well, then you go over here. Because you worship this God and I worship this God. So we'll go to our respective corners.
Well, I think that a lot of their demands are kind of ridiculous. And I don't know how this applies to most of their student body. But I mean, the general concept of wanting, the basis of this is wanting to basically have more democratic access to higher education. It's kind of the perfect time to bring this up, considering the recent scandal with, the rich people paying to get their kids into college and everything, because that kind of perfectly illustrates the situation. And I'm not against that. I think what I'm really against on this is the idea that they have some say in enforcing that on the faculty and what race the faculty represents, right? That there has
to be charge this university. I'll say, I'll pick who works here. Fuck you.
Right. Because, some of the other points on here, there's resources for first generation and low income students, support for international students. And
then under faculty, number 1, diasporic studies. Students of color should not be forced to resort to racist white professors in order to have access to their own history. Just wow.
Right. So you think that they're hiring racists?
Yeah. It is crucial that the college offer courses taught about people of color by people of color, so that students may engage in and produce meaningful work that represents them authentically. Why are we so hung up on wanting to see it? Like I told you guys in the pre-show chat, I went to the dentist the other day. I had a white hygienist and an Indian dentist. Think I gave a fuck? I went, oh, thank God, a white hygienist. No. Think I got up because it was an Indian dentist? No, in fact, I went, hey, this guy's probably pretty good because he's fucking Indian. It's a different form of racism, but still, like,
all the doctor's appointments I've had in the last 5 years, I think I've only had one white doctor.
Yeah, you in the office going, I demand to see a white doctor. I want someone who represents my interests.
Like, in fact, one time when I had to switch doctors, I said, yeah, I had Dr. Patel, and they said, well, what was the first name? I said, I don't know, Dr. Patel, and they're like, Patel is like Smith.
Yeah, it doesn't narrow it down.
I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. See, the more you know what I'm saying? But I never once was like, get your filthy Indian hands off me. I don't give a shit. I'm assuming if you're a doctor in a doctor's office, you've probably passed some sort of test to be there. You know what I'm saying? You've done some work to be there. You know more than me. And I would never be like, I can't listen to you because you have an accent.
Well, they have one of the lines on here is mental health support for students. Well,
of color.
Of color. Yes, of course, we can't forget that. But that's kind of part of the greater thesis of this whole thing. But, number 2 is we demand all students have access to unlimited therapy sessions through health and wellness. All right.
Something changed from 20 years ago. I know it wasn't my college. I went to Western and I was having a tough time. I got to go talk to a therapist for free.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you're paying $55,000 a semester. Yeah, I should hope they could throw in a little bit of therapy if you need it. But then to demand that they have one new black therapist, one new Asian therapist, and one new Latinx therapist, because black people can only talk to black people about their problems. White people don't understand black problems. Black people don't understand Asian
problems. We're not all
humans.
Yeah.
You know, I really got to ask this, and I'm being dead serious. How is this different than the segregationists from like 60 years ago? They both think that.
I'll tell you why it's different, Rich. Separate but equal.
But I mean, here's the thing. I guarantee you, if we could hop in a DeLorean, hit 88 miles per hour, snatch a segregationist from 60 years ago, bring them here, and set them next to one of these students that had a hand in writing this, they would both think they're on the right side.
Right.
And they would both agree with, you live over there and I'll live over here.
Yeah, great. You've gone from just outright racism to apartheid. Congratulations, America.
I mean, I'm so fucking sick of, it's the smugness of these cocksucking motherfuckers that piss me off. Well, no white person can understand what it's like to be a black person. Okay, so if I go to a black therapist, should I go, well, you can't understand what it's like to be a white person? And you know what they're going to say? The same person who said no white person can understand a black person will go, everybody understands what it's like to be white. Really? So automatically you understand what it's like. You were just born with that knowledge. Really?
Well, they see it on TV.
Yes, because TV represents white people.
Yeah.
Okay, right here, how is this not segregationist? Permanent funding for identity groups. The college will provide a set budget for at least $500 per semester to Black student unions, Asian student unions, Latinx student unions, Indigenous student unions, LGBTQ plus student unions, including QPOC, whatever the fuck that means, disabled student unions, first-generation college student unions, international student unions. You want to divide up your entire student body.
Netflix has, there's a series that goes, it explores the decades in America, like the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. And I was watching the 80s season, and it's amazing how far we've come, and not in a good way, in my opinion, from when they were talking to musicians, from Prince. He was like, I don't make music for black people. I don't make black music. I make music for all people. My music, I'm not black music. I'm not white music. I'm music. They interviewed, the Go-Go's, and they're like, we don't want to be known as a girl band. We just want to be known as a band. Mm-hmm. We play our instruments. We write our own fucking songs. That's all. We're no different than any group that, you wouldn't go, that's a band full of guys. No, that's a band. That's all we are. And maybe because I'm over 40, I'm irrelevant anymore to people younger than me. Mm-hmm. But wasn't that like the goal? Mm-hmm. Of the civil rights movement? I have a dream that my children will one day live in a world they were there, judge on the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. Yeah, I think that's what we were going for. This is kind of scary because if these people hold to these fucking ideals as they grow older, it's going to be a new separate but equal society.
Right. One of their demands, there be a new tenured faculty of color, at least 2 African diasporic studies, 2 in African diasporic studies, 1 in Asian American studies, and 1 in Latinx diasporic studies, and 1 in Indigenous / Native People Studies. All right, so why do you hate people from the Middle East then?
Yeah. I gotta hate my people, Sarah Lawrence students.
Yeah, where's their representation?
I love this. The aforementioned classes must be taught by professors who are a part of the culture they are teaching about.
So if we're going to teach about like Roman history, we got to get someone from Italy over here?
Yeah.
Because only they can read a history book and understand that this is so white men can't jump. No, you listen to Jimi Hendrix. You can't hear Jimmy. Like, no, bullshit. And this is all horse shit. And this is that Goldilocks bullshit. And I blame the fucking parents because they're the ones that instilled this shit into these kids' fucking heads and let them run with it. Are you fucking serious? Are you serious?
How about this one? We demand indigenous land acknowledgement at all orientation and commencement ceremonies, in addition to a permanent land acknowledgement page on both my SLC and the Sarah Lawrence website. These pages must also include a list of resources for local tribes.
Great. So anytime there's any type of anybody addresses the college, they got 3 hours. The first 2.5 will be addressing all the people of color and downtrodden people, and then you only have a half hour to talk about what you actually came to talk about. Wonderful, great. And the one that gets me, and this is this is where it's like, what the fuck are colleges for if not this? The Sarah Lawrence community deserves an administration that strives for an inclusive education that reflects the diversity of our community. This threatens the safety and well-being of marginalized people within the community by demonstrating that our lives and our identities are viewed as opinions that we can have a difference in dialogue about, as if we haven't been forced to debate our very existence for our entire lives. Guys, did you have to debate your existence to anybody growing up?
We're starting to have to now, but no.
But who would you debate with? Like, I couldn't even debate with my parents. Go to bed. I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
My dad started undoing his belt. You know what? I feel like going to bed. That's what I thought. And
my dad always said, I'm giving you the illusion of a choice.
Yeah. You know, I mean, like, what has happened to where here's the thing. They don't even want debate, though. There's no difference of opinions. They are right, and everybody else is wrong.
Well, you know what's happened? We talked about a million times. You know what's happened. It's 30 years of everybody's special and all that bullshit. This is the manifestation of that.
It's kind of scary because higher education is supposed to expand your mind, not shrink it. All right.
There's 7 billion of us. We're not special. There's 7 billion of us. Not special. None of us. When we die, another one will come along to take our place.
Yeah, sadly, I have a family member I had to have that conversation with when he was in his teens. Because he looked me dead in the face at 16 years old and said, I know I'm special because everybody's told me I'm special my entire life. And I looked at him and said, people that love you, to your family and friends, yeah, you are special. To Joe Blow walking down the street, you ain't shit.
Yeah. And
until you learn that, life's going to be very hard for you because the whole world isn't your family and friends. Trust me. So this really scares me because is this the new progressive world we're heading towards, to where we're going to divide each other up by every little thing we can think of?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm sorry, you were going to say something, Aaron.
Well, part of what confuses me about this is that, like, if this school has all these problems, then why did you want to go there?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Why
are you still continuing to attend? I didn't like the college I went to. I left after 1 semester.
It's looking for a struggle to have. So, there's all these perceived problems at this school. I'm going to swoop in and fix it.
Right. You can be the problem solver if you're the one who identifies the problem. I mean, it's kind of like how Apple sells their products. Like, here's a slate that has pictures on it that you can touch, and everyone's like, that's interesting, but what the fuck are we going to do with it? They're like, everything, just take it. You'll figure it out.
I mean, it's just, I guess I'm starting to embrace being irrelevant to people like this, because I just look at people like this and go, you're just as bad as the fucking racist from the South in the 1950s and 60s, dude.
I'm kind of with you, Rich. Like, I'm turning 40 here a little bit, and quite honestly, I'm embracing it. It's like, you know what? I don't want to be lumped in with you idiots anymore. Please discount me. Because, yeah, it's mind-boggling, man.
Breaking generational divides is only good for scoring drugs.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, now that I think about it, can you imagine how boring their parties must be? Like, do these kids, right? Like, when they go to raves, it's like, okay, all the straight white people over here, all the gay people over here, all the black people over there, and stay in your lanes. Don't anyone talk to anybody.
If people start making out, do they walk up to them and go, "Excuse me, did she consent to this?"
Hey, turn off that jungle music. That's appropriating African culture. Like, wow. I look at this and I'm like, these are people that I just don't understand whatsoever. And I know if I've sat and talked to people like this in person, and they are just so sure they are right. It's unshakable. You cannot get them to deviate from it one bit. And I just think back to all the times I've talked to religious zealots and racists, and they're the exact same fucking way. And I guess you become what you hate eventually, right? I mean, what is the old saying? Don't stare into the abyss too long, because might, or those who fight evil must make sure not to become evil themselves. I guess that lesson was lost on them somewhere in all this indoctrination that they've gotten, because I don't even know what else to call it. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of I guess I'm really confused about this. These demands, because not only, like I said, they could probably go to school somewhere else. It's not like this is government sponsored school, and they have to pay to actually participate in this racist organization. But I don't understand where is the position that they're coming from? Is this a negotiation, or just because if you make demands, then you're making demands with the threat of something, right? Nobody can make demands if they don't have anything to threaten you with.
Is this just a bunch of rich kids wanting to think they're oppressed?
Well, I mean, they kind of talk about basically. I can't find the exact part in here. Damn it! It's somewhere in the beginning. And let me see here. Damn it! I know it was mentioned in here somewhere, but they talk about how Sarah Lawrence will no longer be considered a progressive organization anymore, basically. And I don't know what that, like, we're going to label you as a bunch of Neanderthals is the threat.
Okay, cool. I'd kick everybody out and give them their money back. You don't have to go to school here.
I'm all for organizing and making a list of demands of things that you want to see changed in whatever organization you're part of, your work or your school or whatever have you. But you have no position to come from. Like, it's not like you're making some threat like you're not going to support the school anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I mean, what the only recourse they have if their demands aren't met is to stop going. Right. And that's when they're going to find out that colleges are like, guess what? We ain't cutting you a check for all that money you've paid us.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
There's a drop deadline, and you're past it.
Have fun. I mean, and on top of that, Ben Shapiro is an asshole, but he brings up a very valid point that gets overlooked by people who are of the mindset of this listed demands. We're all privileged. We were privileged by being born in this country.
Yep.
All right. And yeah, we do have our problems in this country, but if you are so worried about underprivileged people and people getting a fair shake, why don't you fucking drop out of your $55,000 a semester school, take some of that money, and go help people in third world countries?
Join the Peace Corps.
Go out into the real world and actually enact change instead of sitting on your ass while mommy and daddy pay the bills, making demands when you have no recourse if they're not met, but just to go, well, then I'm leaving. And the school goes, bye. Do something. I mean,
Of all the streaming services out there, only one is different. Discovery Plus. It's the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes of food, love, true crime, home, from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Yes! With stars like Chip and Jo, an exclusive new series from 90 Day Fiancé, all in one place. Bam! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
You'd be surprised at how little amounts of money could change somebody's life in major ways. And that's why I'm actually becoming a fan of Kim Kardashian. You know,
just on her butt.
I was. She's never really my type anyway. So I never really found her attractive. It's just too much of everything. It's like, you know what she is? They show, it's always like clickbait food articles where they have like some burger that's like 9 patties deep, all of them cheesed up, and this mountain of fries. And you're just like, you like cheeseburger and fries, right? This is the biggest cheeseburger and the biggest plate of fries. Like, isn't that awesome? You're like, no. What am I going to do with that? I can't even put my mouth around it.
Are we still talking about her ass? I know, right? I feel like we're talking about both at the same time.
So anyway, I'm actually becoming a fan of the social work that she's doing. You know, I'm with
you there, actually.
Getting a couple people out of jail, I'm like, all right, you know. So you got your thing, celebrity. Congratulations, right? She's walking the walk on this. Honestly, she's following
keeps
through.
Doing it.
She keeps up on it. She's just seems to have this attitude of, okay, who's next? And she's actually supporting some of these people who need it outside of that, not just getting them out of jail, but providing them with housing, providing them with the money to get on their feet.
This is her plan B. She's getting close to 40. She knows gravity's going to show up soon.
But I mean, that's legit. And this is not costing her a ton of money, right? She's not going bankrupt over this. This is something that so many people could do in this country. People with way more money than Kim Kardashian. And we have this idea that throwing money at the problem just spoils people. And there's plenty of examples of that happening. But it's a different story when you're talking about homeless people, when you're talking about drug addicts, when you're talking about people who really need it. Yeah. Just the same way that, like, if the government offers, free heroin for whoever wants it, that yes, you're still going to have people that are going to ruin their lives and possibly fuck up other people's lives along the way, and will still do even dumb shit like commit crimes, even though they don't have to, because they're just destructive people. You're never going to cure destructive people. That's just going to be part of a certain percentage of your population that you'll just have to deal with. But the idea that
human nature,
that you're going to cause these people to be that way because you start giving them stuff for free is a misunderstanding of human nature. And it's more often than not, and well worth the investment, to throw a few $1,000s at somebody in desperation. And okay, maybe the 10th guy spends all of that on drugs. Maybe the last 2 out of 10 do that. But you still got the first 8 of them that went, oh, finally, let me get a decent pair of clothes, get a haircut, start looking for a job, make myself presentable, and use that actually as a leg up. And I honestly, I hope that she continues to do this. I hope she broadens her scale on it, and that people pay attention to this over a long-term course. And I'd like to I'm interested in following these people and seeing what happens with them. I want their stories to be used as examples, because, like it or not, we are possibly, unless some some major changes happen in our economy in the next couple of decades, we are looking at, if we're on the same course of action, having to have some sort of universal basic income. And it's not even a lot of money. And it's not even a radical and new concept. This is something that Richard Nixon was testing out during his administration of just fall in America, right? You're not going to be prosperous. You're not even going to be comfortable, but you're not going to starve and you're not going to live in the streets.
Yeah, but there was a country that tested it, I think in 2015, and they stopped it a year in. I think it was one of those Nordic countries, one of the ones that everyone always says is better than.
But if you dig in a little bit further on this, you'll find that there's smaller examples of this working, yes, but they've been continuing for decades, even here in the U.S. I think it was in North Carolina or South Carolina. There's a community of people that have a basic income. They don't call it universal basic income, but it's not federal or state welfare. It's just, here's a check so that you can, and you do what you want with it, right? And that's because nobody trusts people, right? And especially when you're talking about rich people trusting poor people. They're definitely not going to trust poor people. You want to talk about how much the poor distrust the rich. The rich really distrust the poor. And especially not to do anything smart with their money, because that's why they're poor, right? They did dumb shit with their money. So
I just bought this truck of Cools. Yeah. Paid cash money.
Right. And so this argument that's the problem with, like, you set up these welfare programs and then you have, all these hoops that you have to jump through and all this paperwork that you have to fill out. Some people don't even bother. Some people game the system. Why are we going through all this? Do we want to help people or not? Because if you want to help people, you have to understand that a certain percentage of your charity is waste. And that's just the cold, hard facts of it. Again, you're not going to overcome human nature and the destructive nature of some people. That doesn't mean that you prop those up as examples of why a system doesn't work. Oh, well, here's a welfare queen. Here's somebody who gamed the system. Yeah? Okay. Well, here's a plane that crashed. Do we stop traveling by air? No. We had Boeing had two of the same types of plane within like months of each other crash in similar circumstances, and that specific plane gets grounded, but no other planes get grounded because we make rational decisions about this and go, well, maybe there's a problem with this specific model, and we tweak it. We don't go, scrap the whole system. Air travel's not worth it. Back to the drawing board.
The problem with, at least in my opinion, with the universal income is you can't fix the thing in humans that when you get something for free, you start expecting it.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to, it's not a problem if it continues, right? And what I'm arguing is that not that it won't be expected, but that expectation will corrupt the person in some way.
Well, the reason they stopped it in Finland is they said, yes, people were happier, but nobody was working. Mm-hmm. And it's...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is, like, yes, it is. It will affect productivity. That's why I'm not saying that nationwide we should have this now. I'm saying that unless something else drastically changes in our economy, if it continues on the same course, we're going to have people that we just are going to need to pay to not work. Otherwise, they're just going to be criminals.
Well, that's part of when we talk about, we're inventing technology that makes us useless.
Yeah.
A certain number of people in society useless.
Left and right, we've got these amazing brains that we're trying to make obsolete so that we can free them up for more porn.
Well, isn't part of the problem whenever subjects like this come up, the fact that the people on the fringes, the people who succeed and the people who really succeed and the people who really fail when we talk about stuff like this are what most people are, those are the stories people are attracted to. The people who just get by life, get through, live a boring existence. It's not a good enough story for us. We just don't deal with that.
No, we automatically imprint our own story upon them. Well, that was your spirit. You overcame. Yeah, sure. Oh, the government kicked in a little bit, but you wouldn't have done that if you weren't determined and you weren't inspired. And didn't watch a lot of Spike Lee movies. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen in our lifetimes, but I mean, down the line, yeah. If we keep it, if we keep inventing technology that makes humans useless, what are we going to do at that point?
Well, not only that, Rich.
We're not going to stop fucking. That's not happening.
We're not going to stop fucking. We're also going to continue to improve technology that keeps us alive. So there's going to be more of us around twiddling our thumbs.
But if we become less motivated, how will new things get invented? Like, obviously I'm not saying it's going to happen in like a year or two, but just, over time, we become less and less motivated. Who's going to invent the new shit?
The geniuses, the very small percentage of people that have always moved technology forward in the history of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, what if they say, fuck it, I'm getting $40,000 a year to not leave my house? I'm good.
They're not. No, because look, in the same way that you're not going to overcome a certain amount of destructive human nature, you're not going to be able to overcome the self-driven part of human nature that exists in others. It's not just going to go away. Our need for exploration, for new knowledge, for new technology, our interest in exploring all the sciences and arts is not just going to dissipate because we don't have to get up and go to work. That doesn't go anywhere. The things that inspire us that's not dissolved in a $2,000 a month check from the government. Those things can't be stifled. Albert Einstein changed the face of science, and he did so struggling all the way through. It wasn't like as a young boy he was picked out as a genius and then everybody listened to everything that he said. As a matter of fact, he was wrong for most of the time and labeled as a kook until eventually other people could prove him right. He was labeled a kook because even fellow scientists didn't understand the things that he was talking about. And once they started to understand, they went, oh, this guy's actually right about everything. And, if Albert Einstein let other people dictate what he should be thinking about and what he should be believing in, then he wouldn't have blessed us with any of his knowledge. He would have just kept it to himself. But he was self-driven. He was a genius who was self-motivated, and he figured out a certain part of the way the world works, and he was going to share no matter what. And that's not going away.
And then you have people like Howard Hughes. He was born into money. Never really had to worry about money, yet he was driven to invent in whatever he pursued, whether it be aviation, it be in the way movies were made, whatever he dipped his hand into, he was like, he was always thinking 5 steps ahead of the next guy. We can do this. I want to do this.
Universal basic income might stop, Facebook from being invented. But it's not going to stop cancer from being cured.
I mean, and I know it's a trope in a lot of movies and books and shit, but I mean, aren't most people who are driven, aren't they kind of half crazy in the first place? Mm-hmm. I mean, you kind of have to be. I mean, think about the motherfucker who invented the telephone. I want to talk to someone that's not even here.
Well, yeah, if you want to equate this to like artistic talent, there's plenty of examples of the successful examples of musicians aren't necessarily always the most talented ones. It's the ones who are the most talented and the most driven. There's a much healthier population that are very talented and just not driven to do that as their one and only thing. And they don't get to be pop stars. They don't get to be rock stars. They don't get to be rap stars because that's just not their path. Right? You have to have that right combination. But that right combination is always going to exist because it's not that everything is about money. It's that money is the proof. The amount of money is the amount of love. the amount of respect, the amount of importance of what that person means in the world. That's how it drives an artist or anybody who's, I guess, I don't know, people don't get into sciences for money, but, they get paid decently.
Yeah, but here's the thing. People who go into the science fields, STEM fields, whatever, a lot of times they become obsessed with creating whatever one single thing. It's the people above them who go, how can I make a buck off of this?
Yeah.
They're not worried about it. It's very rare that you get the full package. The person who's like, I want to create, I want to innovate, and I want to be rich, and I want to be powerful. So, I mean, that's always going to be there. That's just how the system works.
Well, I guess maybe
the guy who invented the McNugget isn't rich, but McDonald's sure has cashed a lot of checks off them fuckers.
I guess maybe my comment was, I didn't elaborate on it more. It's what you're saying, Aaron, is correct. Those people are always going to be there. I'm speaking more to the people. There are many people out there, I think it's part of the human condition. Is some people need adversity to succeed, and it's going to kill those people.
But there's also a lot of people who the fear of failure paralyzes them.
Yeah, but you're also just moving the window, right? By providing a universal basic income, it doesn't remove all the adversity. It just moves the floor of how far we're willing to let an American citizen fall.
Well, I mean, I don't know. The idea of universal basic income is one of those things in the last few years that I'm kind of. That's why I've been so quiet during this conversation, because Chris will make a point, and I'm like, yeah, I can see that. And you make a point, and I'm like, yeah, I can see that. And I'm sitting here like, boy, I'm just fucking, my asshole hurts from this fence being shoved up it, because I'm sitting right in the middle of this motherfucker, because it's like, it's going to open up new opportunities for people who otherwise would never have had it. But it's also going to give people who don't give a fuck the ability to give even less of a fuck. And but that happens anyways. And this is where I kind of fall on your side, Aaron. Would we rather have people fucking going, well, I have no hope, no future that I can see, so let me stick this gun in someone's face and fucking, that's how I'm going to make my living.
Yeah.
Versus someone who just goes, well, I'll just sit at home and watch TV until I drop dead. I mean,
right.
One's destructive, one's just not productive.
Yeah, and it's not ever that simple, right? I mean, there's so many more circumstances than, it's not like every young black male teenager that grows up in the ghetto has this binary choice of go to work for McDonald's or start slinging rock on the corner. But that decision isn't just monetary, right? It's not that the only ones that go to work at McDonald's do it because they don't give a fuck about money. There's other things that drive that person to make either decision.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess at a certain point we have to do what we have to look at it like this. What's worse? People who are destructive to society or people who are just what is considered unproductive? Which one's more harmful?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but we constantly have this. It's like we're having this argument about it like it's in a vacuum. The same way we tackle healthcare, right? People want to talk about universal healthcare or single payer or whatever have you, and immediately there's a group of people that are pointing to countries with socialized medicine, going, "Well, why did this person die? Why did that person die? This person had to be on a waiting list for this or that." And like, no situation is perfect. We're trying to look for the best possible situation, but to constantly look at it like, and that's what's going to happen if we any serious talk about universal basic income, and people will be able to go in and pluck out individual examples and cherry pick information and go, well, it didn't work for this guy and this family, and didn't work in this situation. Yeah. Well, every time the Wright brothers tried to get a vehicle off the ground, it didn't exactly work every single time. But they kept at it. And even still, to this day, some of them fall out of the sky. It's completely changed the way that we travel in this country. And that's changed That's changed the whole world, right? It changed the way that people experience the world.
Yes. In fact, I can get in an aluminum tube and be in LA in 4 hours when I live in New York. Yeah, it's pretty badass.
I'm not saying that if Beto O'Rourke starts talking about universal income, I'm going to get on the train. I can't see it working right now. All I'm saying is that the current situation of our economy is unsustainable. And who knows what changes are to come decades down the line. But it's going to have to be something. Otherwise, we are going to have mass unemployment. Crime is going to go through the roof. Things are just going to fall apart. So,
yeah. And
maybe UBI isn't the answer, but I'd like to hear some others. Let's consider some options.
Well, the question I always have with stuff like this is how are we paying for it? Do we now get taxed?
The same way we pay for anything else.
Yeah, well, but is it now going to be like 60% of my income?
But listen, Chris, you're not wrong, but that's the conversation of how to pay for it happens after you decide whether to do it or not, right? First, you rank the problems in order of importance and decide how you need to tackle those. Then you decide how to pay for them. Because if it's always a question of how do you pay for it, then the answer is always, well, we can't. We have too many other things that we want to do. And that's always going to be an excuse to not do things that you should do. There's certain things that you need to do, and once you decide that you need to do them, then you figure out how to pay for them.
Yeah, but what if I'm not? What if I'm not down with that? What if I like your idea, but how you're going to execute it? I mean, it's again, if I got to give up 60% of my income to get UBI, no thanks.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I don't have any numbers for you of what it looks like, of how much you have to, but part of the thing is of what you're quote unquote giving up. Like you might be giving up some of your freedom to have that money and spend it how you see fit, but you do have to always weigh that against what you are getting out of it, and what you might get out of it is a more stable country where you don't have to worry about getting carjacked.
Well, you also have to.
Yeah, but I don't think UBI is going to eliminate criminals.
No, it's not. No, but I'm saying like the alternative might be rampant crime.
Well, you're never going to eliminate crime altogether.
Never.
The idea is to minimize it as much as possible.
That's like every science fiction movie about a utopia involves, somebody who slips through the cracks. Everything was perfect, right? Minority Report. It's human nature. There's none of these issues solve crime.
Well, look,
But the more that you let people slip into poverty, the more that you let people, be ground under the heel of the government and rich people and corporations, the more crime you're going to get.
I think probably one of the things that's overlooked when this type of discussion comes up, how to pay for it, yes, that's obviously at the forefront of a lot of people's minds, but you're going to have to change the mindset of a lot of people, because I don't know if this is uniquely American, but I know a lot of people who pride themselves on I did it myself. Mm-hmm. I'm this rugged individualistic American who never had any help from anybody.
But the question of how it's paid for is never brought up by. This isn't an argument that's made by somebody who knows how it's going to be paid for or how anything's paid for. It's really what it's saying is I don't want it and I don't want to pay for it. I mean, look. Nobody says that in real life. Or maybe they go, oh boy, I think I can work out getting a BMW. I got to figure out how I'm going to pay for it. Okay, maybe you move some money around. Maybe it's more important you have a really nice car so you forego some other luxuries in your life. But that's kind of a rarity. In general, the things that you spend your money on day in and day out, month after month, nobody goes, I want cable, but hey family, let's get together and decide how we're going to pay for this. No, we make enough money. Let's buy some fucking cable and have some entertainment. It's hypocritical to say, how is the government going to pay the same way with your tax money? That's the thing. If you're arguing how are they going to pay for it, then you might as well just come and say it. I'm against it. I don't want this to happen. That's a fair point. Not wanting a program like this in the country because you think it's going to do something to destroy our moral fabric or that it's just not good policy or it's not the place of the government, let's have those discussions.
Hey, I want to speak to something you said
once we're
earlier.
done with all that, once we're all finished with deciding whether or not this is a good idea, then we go, okay, now it's on the table. How do we pay for it? That's how we figure it out.
Speak to something you said earlier about people being ground under the heel of corporations. Do you not view the government as like the ultimate corporation?
No, I put them in that same category. People being ground under the heel of governments and corporations. Kind of left foot, right foot.
So what's to keep them from having why are they all of a sudden going to have a conscience?
They're not, because they're not an entity. They're the representation of the people. So it would take the will of the people that want to have this done to stop their own government from grinding the heel on their necks.
But see, I think, Chris, you just hit the nail on the head. Even if people don't have a problem with being taxed 60%, even if people don't have that, I do it myself, I don't need government to hold my hand, there's the mistrust of government to do it and to do it in an efficient way. And I have to say the government's earned every bit of distrust it's got. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is not unearned. It's not like it's coming out of nowhere, out of left field.
That's true, but if we're talking about UBI still, then it's really just wealth redistribution. You don't really have to trust the government to do anything but count correctly.
Yeah, and I always think back to a sociology class I had in college when they were like, if there was 20 people and they were trapped on an island, and this person had a ton of this and this person had a ton of that, and they were all depending on each other for survival, they're more likely to share out what they have with the other people to do their best to keep everybody alive. Yet you put a nation of 350 million people and all of a sudden, get your hand out my pocket. And it's because the human factor's not there. When we talk about stuff like this, when like Reagan's, very well fictional welfare queen, that was just a faceless, nameless person. It was easy to hate that because it wasn't, first of all, it was no welfare queen. That was all bullshit that was made up. But even if there was, it's easy to hate something that's faceless and nameless. No, I don't know the person down the street. Why would I help them?
Right. Well, it's because the concept of America, this country, is the only thing that does bind us together. Right. That's what governments and religions and stories and everything has been for, is to expand our connection with people beyond our own tribe. Right? We had a tribe of people that was, rather small, and those were all the people that we knew, and those are the only people we had contact with day in and day out. Those are the only people we trusted. We have no idea what other people from other tribes are like. Then you start hearing stories from other tribes. Oh, wait a minute. They're experiencing the same feelings and the same woes and the same happiness and all the same things that we do. We're kind of similar, right? And then they start forming into religions. And that religion is basically saying, hey, we're all kind of going through the same thing here, and the countries grow out of that. So, when we're all believing in the American dream, then we are sharing something, then we are identifying with something. But now we've got two different factions of people who have two different versions of what the American dream means.
So ultimately what we need to do is we need to find one thing that unites everybody we all can agree on. And the only thing I can think of is fucking. Everybody likes to fuck, right? Universal basic fucking for everybody. Well, no, because then the asexuals will come out and say, what about us? And then they'll have to start up. You can't win. Right. Even if you distribute dick and pussy, you couldn't win. See, this humans are just so flawed. Maybe we just need to just drop all the nukes at once.
Man, you
should start over.
You just tied UBI into the incel movement. That was either amazingly tongue in cheek, or they should be calling you to go on Fox News and refute some of this shit. That was a ninja move there. I'm out of arguments.
Hey, speaking of Fox News, did you hear they hired Donna Brazile?
Yeah, because they want Democrats to talk nonsense.
I don't know who Donna Brazile is, and I think I'm glad not to.
The black chick with the purple hair that was on Bill Maher like every other month during the election time. She was head of the DNC.
She was head of the DNC when Hillary got the nomination, and there was some shenanigans going on. And before the debates happened for the primaries, for some reason, Hillary got the questions ahead of time and Bernie didn't, when nobody should have got the questions ahead of time.
Yeah, that's kind of the point of the debate. It's off the cuff, right? It's not a fucking test.
So her or somebody under her in her organization basically tossed the primary election to Hillary. So yeah, they want her on Fox. Are you kidding? I'm not saying she's a Republican, but she's an unwitting asset.
This is Fox going, hey, you think we're crazy? Hold my beer.
Yeah. Come on. They need somebody to make what's her name look sane. Shit. Tommy Lahren.
God, she's still a thing?
Oh yeah, she's on Fox all the time.
God, I'm so glad I don't watch Fox.
Every time Beto comes up, she's like, who? Oh, I don't know anyone named Beto. Like, bitch, you don't know him anyway. Who the fuck? You didn't grow up with this guy? I knew him as a Robert.
You know, can't she just release her gangbang tape and get it over with? Because that's about all she's useful for. Seriously?
Not even. She doesn't look good wet.
The first time I brought her up and you looked her up on air, you were singing a different tune, Aaron.
Yeah, she makes herself look like Buffy the Vampire Slayer on Instagram. But check out her pre-op pics.
It's like Jennifer Aniston in Leprechaun or Jennifer Aniston first season of Friends. It's like there's two different noses here. Is it that drastic? Like, seriously?
No, it's just kind of everything. The whole.
Well, she comes off as very fake. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not surprised if half of her is made by, Rubbermaid. That wouldn't shock me. I mean, she doesn't, come on now. She's on TV. Nobody's born perfect. You know what I'm saying? Most people on TV have had some work done. But, oh God, I didn't realize she was on Fox. I thought she was on some...
She doesn't have a show or anything. They just ask her on at the time.
Okay, yeah. The last time I knew, she had an internet show on some Blaze or something like that. That's the last time I paid attention to her.
Yeah, I don't think that Donna Brazil's getting her own show. She's just going to be like a regular commentator like Tommy Lahren is.
Gotcha. Good old Fox News. Yeah. Thank you for getting rid of the fairness doctrine. It birthed Fox News. Thank you, Roger Stone. We appreciate that. Done more to divide this country than any other single news channel in the history of this country. But they're fair and balanced.
But it didn't. But you haven't seen any Congress since then running to reenact it either.
Well, fuck no, because the right people got the right amount of money to let it happen, and then. Dude, do you understand the Southern strategy isn't even taught in school? The fairness doctrine, that's been, if you are not a student of history and don't look that shit up yourself, you're not getting taught that in school. Maybe in college, if you're a history major or something. But the true history of this country has been buried underneath bullshit. And that's the way we like it. I mean, let's be honest. We fucking still think Columbus discovered America. How the fuck you discover something someone's already living at? I'm going to break in your house and discover your fucking DVD player. Come on, man.
Yeah, discovered your car in your driveway.
Discovered your wife. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to plant a flag in that and claim it for fucking Spain. Fuck you.
I didn't discover her, but I did discover her orgasm.
Yeah. Yeah, I discovered she's got a G spot that you seem not to be able to hit. So, especially when she said, "Oh my God, I've never felt like that before." I was like, "Well,
sorry about your luck."
Exactly.
Yep. Sorry, the bar for men is on the ground.
Alrighty. We got in here. We're running on a good tone. We're not getting any dark shit. No despairing shit. Let's end here. Like Seinfeld, we'll go out on a high note. Or no, it's Costanza. Going out on a high note. But remember to hit us up on Twitter. You're going to find the show at UnregimentedPod. You can email us at regimentedchristophermedia.net. We are on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, pretty much wherever you can get a podcast. I've learned we're on shit I didn't even know I submitted us to. So yeah, and we're ChristopherMedia.net is there too if you just want to cut out the middleman. Shows every Saturday, and see you next week.
See ya.
Later, guys.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Discovery Plus is the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Woohoo! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love. Of all the streaming services out there, only one is different. Discovery Plus. It's the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes of food, love, true crime, home from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Yes! With stars like Chip and Jo, an exclusive new series from 90 Day Fiancé, all in one place. Bam! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
ChristopherMedia.net.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for listening, and thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.